Hello there. I'm Robert.
And I'm Vanessa.
I'm Travis.
And we are late to the party, and it is our
spoiler review of
Star Wars.
The Rise of Skywalker.
I thought you were going to leave something for me to say. Rise of Skywalker. It came out, and we saw it. So far, Vanessa and I have seen it 2 times at this moment. Travis is the one.
Just the one.
We saw it at a press screening a few days earlier, and then we watched it opening night with a full sold-out crowd.
Right.
Now, when it comes down to it, obviously, a lot to unpack, a lot to discuss, a lot to touch on when it comes to The Rise of Skywalker. Episode 9, the end of the Skywalker saga. The story is over.
We think.
The story is done. It's been told. It's finished.
We think.
We ain't going nowhere, right? Of course not. They're going to open up the world. They're going to give us a little bit more. It's probably not going to follow any of the primary Skywalker lineage of sorts, but I think later down the road, we'll end up getting Rey, Finn, Poe back in some way, shape, form, hopefully having nothing to do with the previous universe. We are in the galaxy. Let's head forward. But we don't need to get to that right away, by all means. Take your time. Let's get to other stories in the world of Star Wars before we even touch on that. When it comes to The Rise of Skywalker, we have opinions.
We do.
They are our own opinions, based off of our biasness, based off of our love, our way we chose to go in our minds for certain stories, which, granted, The Last Jedi totally got us to recalibrate all those expectations in a way that was a little bit more realistic going into this movie.
Star Wars has been around, it's a big franchise, and you have a lot of different avenues or different ways that they could have gone with this movie, and they kind of went in certain ways that I do not agree with, and there are a lot of things that I did enjoy about The Rise of Skywalker, but whether they weigh out each other, who knows, but I guess we'll get into it in this review.
In detail.
With the end of this Skywalker saga, it's given me an opportunity to look back at all the 9 movies and see and actually appreciate some I didn't before.
Sure.
So I do have lots to say about this, some good, some maybe not so good. And again, my opinion.
In our opinion, and that's what you're getting here. But a lot of things we absolutely loved, and a lot of things we have things to talk about. So let's talk about it. We are getting into the crawl. The crawl, the dead speak. Right off the bat, informing us right there in the scroll, going up, the Emperor has made a return. The Emperor is back.
Yeah.
Figured it would happen.
It's funny, like they don't hide it. They just put it right into the crawl. Like, yep, it's Emperor Palpatine. He is back.
Yeah.
And then you kind of get a little bit more like Rey is off training,
of course,
for this because we didn't really get a whole lot of her training, so they're saying it in the crawl so that we get some of it, but not a whole lot. But she is training.
Yep.
And then of course you have Kylo Ren trying to find a way to destroy Palpatine because he wants that power.
How legit is that? Right out of the gate, though,
which
Ren is against the Emperor. They tell you the position,
right? What
his goal is, and it makes total sense with Ren's character.
Right, and I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh shit, okay, now we have a character that wants to have all this power. I'm like, I like it.
Right.
I'm ready to see this character go, full dark side.
Right. That's actually all I have to say. I agree.
Now, the aspect of Ren going for Palpatine definitely does, it holds true to that character that he's been doing. He is power hungry. He is the one that's going to rule. He is taking his birthright, which is, holding the galaxy in his hand, and he'll let people live, if they serve him. Other than that, he is starting where what he thinks his lineage is leading towards, his legacy, essentially, from, grandfather. And when it comes down to it, he thinks he's better. He's arrogant. He's cocky. Also, just like Luke Skywalker at times, just like Anakin Skywalker, very much more so than Luke. But still, that arrogance is there when it comes to the Skywalker line. And you got a little Han Solo in there. So right out of the gate, we end up at what is known as Exegol. And for me, as a frisky dingo fan, Xander Cruz comes to mind, and his troop, his group, his followers, his soldiers, the Exegals.
Give me a new house or I'll shoot him in the face.
Is what comes to mind for me.
Me too. Like, as soon as they said that name, I was like, Boosh? Like,
Boosh,
it just,
Baba Boosh.
like, it just reminded me of that, and I was like, that's kind of a weird name. But
Oh
okay.
my God, Yo Xander Cruz. Sorry, I love Frisky Dingo. That's why it sticks with me when they called it Exegol.
Right.
So getting into Kylo Ren showing up on the surface with his lightsaber and
Like, ready to pounce, ready to go.
but you could feel the fear. Like, you could see his fear at different
Yeah.
moments getting into it down the left, and you hear the Emperor's voice start booming. Like, you could see it in his face rather than just being, you know, like, I'm going for it. Like, there is hesitance because it's the freaking Emperor, all right? So you know what you're there to do, but I don't know if I have the strength to do it. Once again, that's kind of his moniker. And then we meet the Emperor.
I do like the way that they did say, you know, kind of giving us a reason of why Snoke was there, who was Snoke.
Right.
I did like that. Yes, he is like a part of, you know, is a clone of some sort. That the Emperor, like the people that Emperor surrounding himself that
Sure.
have created this character, and I did enjoy that answer being, or that answer for the question of who Snoke is.
Sure.
Because I can get behind that.
Right.
I see it, but I do feel like it was just shoehorned in. Like, we didn't really know who he was at first, so
Sure.
he was just a clone, and here's some test tube babies that we see other faces in.
But at the same time, it's like you don't really have anything to go off of because of what they did in.
That's it. I think they
in The
didn't
Last
have
Jedi.
a long-term plan for this, and I think they kind of made it work with what they had written down.
Well, it's not so that they didn't have a long-term plan. It's the plan was altered. They altered the deal. And the deal, essentially, it was supposed to be JJ, it was going to be Ryan, and it was going to end up being Colin Trevorrow. But I feel like they didn't have that overall core of story and which way they wanted to hit each beat.
Something that you saw in the Marvel movies, where they
Correct.
knew where they were going, where this story was going to head.
Took them a bit. You had some stumbles there. Had some stumbles. Personally, had some stumbles, you know, with things that I loved with the sequels of the standalones. And they didn't get it right, I think, in my opinion, until Winter Soldier. Here, like, it's 3 movies since returning. Like, we're still in the baby stages of Star Wars, and they were expected to kind of finish it off. So yes, I feel like they did not implement that whole reasoning, like, early enough with Snoke, where you could have dropped it. Like, for me, what would have been good is the Snoke is down, but then finding out some way that the Emperor was involved, whether it was him hearing the voice, Snoke's gone, and his mind is finally clear, and then you hear the Emperor. And the movie, that's how he's getting his little taste of, holy shit, it wasn't just Snoke. Like, I thought Snoke was involved. Instead, they condensed it and put it into this one.
It wasn't just Snoke. It wasn't just, you know, him hearing his grandfather.
Right. It would have made it perfect. It would have made it feel a little bit more organic going into this story, to where, damn, we skipped a beat and now we know he's going for the Emperor. He found him. But we didn't know the Emperor was a part of it until Star Wars Celebration. Roll it again. Absolutely hyped. It was a great moment. The moment should have happened in The Last Jedi. And it would have bridged the gap needed for what ended up taking place with meeting the Emperor. Now, the Emperor himself, though, for me, didn't look like the Emperor. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but it does lead to a speculation of how it was able to happen.
Right, and that's just coming from us, the way that we are seeing that.
Fill in the gaps.
We are filling the void, filling the gaps of what we are trying to explain as to why the Emperor is there.
Right.
Because, you know, the last time we saw the Emperor fell. Fell in the hole.
He fell.
Huh?
He fell.
Fell in the pit.
Fell in the pit.
And then the Death Star blew up.
Yeah.
Like, how do
Big
you
deal.
come back from that?
Yeah.
So, and there was no explanation, and I think that I would have loved a little bit more explanation, maybe a little bit of a flashback, but it would have made it maybe a longer movie, but I would have been okay with that.
Right.
Kind of flesh it out a little bit, because, you know, you got a little bit of a flashback with Luke and Leia.
Of course.
Right.
So why don't we get a little bit of a flashback with Palpatine, because it was like, yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
It did really feel rushed with his character. Like, all right, now he's here, and now this is the whole story arc for the rest of this movie.
Right.
You caught up? Everyone caught up?
But it's gorgeous.
Move on.
But it's gorgeous, in my opinion, the reveal of it, because and you could say this is putting in the reference. This is kind of trying to tap into, oh yeah, well, this is what you wanted, we're bringing it back.
The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.
Dropping that quote was definitely an awesome little tip of the hat. could be up front because it's word for word, but at the same time, it's just perfect. Palpatine, Big Papa Palpatine is here to play. But at the same time, you know, it is coupled with all these questions that are forming at that moment. When he is, you know, giving us that entire opening speech to Kylo and how he's going to give him his armada essentially to take everybody out, which is supercharged, super turbo eyes, where they got the big old death ray gun on the bottom. And he's giving him all this, but what I loved about that scene was like the flashing. And now I know why they talked about how there could be, you know, epileptic responses to a film like this, and they had to put the warning out because it's just flash, 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 flash.
Lightning, lightning, lightning,
Yeah,
lightning.
yeah, and it's perfect. Why wouldn't the Emperor, who's known for his with the lightning, have like lightning bolts dropping down like raindrops in a cave? Like, it's definitely very Emperor, aesthetically pleasing to what the Emperor is, where he would be hanging out on his summer holiday. But yeah, for me, it's like aesthetically, it was beautiful. It was great. That final shot when he's smiling, and then it cuts over to the boys on the Millennium Falcon, and then you get that fun moment. You get that moment with Finn, Poe, and Chewbacca playing a little bit of hollow chess, Dejarik, and yeah, you're getting some fun moments where they're like, he's cheating. Is he cheating? He's cheating. Like, you get that buddy with the two of them that we had from Force Awakens. Right. We love the beginning of Force Awakens when they're together. Well, this thing can move. No, I'm not calling you that. Finn, how about that? Yeah, I like that. Like, I need a pilot.
I do like the relationship that Finn and Poe have, and I was kind of hoping that we can see a little bit more of that in this movie. And we got a little bit, like, at the beginning here with Chewie, you know. I do enjoy seeing them kind of going off and doing this like little mission that they need to do to bring back a message from Intel.
Mm-hmm.
You know, very Star Wars. You always got to get that intel somewhere.
I do love the bro-ship between them, but I do feel like Finn was kind of like a side character this entire movie.
The entire movie.
He was he was the Chewie to Han, and I think in this film he didn't have much to do, and he was always, hey, now you're a general, like, you get promoted. Like, he didn't have his own story arc. And for a main character, I felt that was very disappointing.
More time would have definitely been able to open that, because if you got to like a 3-hour level movie of like a big finisher, or if you did the 2 movie back to back, which I don't recommend, except they were able to pull it off with Infinity War and Endgame, but they're 2 different movies, like on 2 different ends of a storyline. So if they weren't prepared for that, which again, right out of the gate, I don't think they're prepared for it, a 3-hour movie would have absolutely opened up. You could have definitely gotten more with the Awakening. Like, it added so much more to The Force Awakens with all these people that ended up waking up out of the darkness to rise up all over the place. Would have loved to elaborate on that more for him and his character. But here, we are getting that whole dynamic crew on the Millennium Falcon, like it was in Star Wars. I love seeing Poe flying the Millennium Falcon. He's pulling stuff, and I love that once again, Finn is rocking the guns for Poe. Right. And he's killing it. He's killing it when they're getting chased through the ice cavern, gateway, hallways, I don't know. Like, it's inside a planet, so they're flying outside of a planet, taking on all these TIE fighters.
And they were in sync. That's what I was just thinking. Yeah. They do the roll and the flip and take down the bridge and crush them.
Yeah. Oh, yes. He flies by in the doorway, like, chuckling, laughing. It's a good moment, and then we get something that I thought was really cool. Was the lightspeed skipping? Lightspeed skipping.
It was different and interesting. I don't know if I liked it though. Like, it was fun to see, but it just seemed impractical. And this is coming from a Star Wars movie, so I get what I'm saying. It makes no sense, but
I liked it because they reveal something about Poe later. And I feel like going back to the lightspeed skip, I feel like that is something that him, as somebody who would do, like he was a spice runner, would do lightspeed skipping because, you know, they're trying to run away from either Imperials or from these like First Orders or something. Why not light skip? So obviously he has that in his mind. So of course he's gonna be light skipping. Like, that is the scheduled thing to do, I feel like. So it was perfect that they did the light skip.
That's one hell of a pilot. And he ends up pulling it off, and it's fun. It felt solo to me.
Yeah, it did feel solo.
They're in the same universe. Why wouldn't it feel solo? Yeah. You know, you're setting up a universe to where you're gonna have those repetitive feels. So they're referencing what you loved in Solo. Solo. Those that love Solo, like that's kind of a cool moment.
Yeah.
And that's what I did love about the light speed skipping. And during this time, we get a couple different themes too in this one that John Williams utilizes. You have the one, I forgot the name of it, but it's like the Rebel Alliance formation. I think it could be part of Battle of Endor 1, 2, and 3, but it's the part where they're getting ready at Solus and they're going to go and they're going to take out the Death Star. And you get the swing from the Millennium Falcon in Return of the Jedi. They use that portion of it when they're flying the Millennium Falcon. And another point, you hear the Emperor's theme sped up. And it's more of an action theme. So we've heard the Happy Emperor theme in The Phantom Menace, but you hear the Emperor's theme when they're being chased through the corridors with the TIE fighters behind them, and it's the Emperor's theme.
Locked on target.
Yeah, and it's a quick action theme. And I was like, afterwards, I'm like, I don't know if I love that or not. I had to sit and think about it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was an old theme and it was different. I love it. I love it. Like, if he does that, if he takes the old themes and changes on them, I really enjoy them. Versus just putting it right back in again. But I'm not going to lie, TIE Fighter Attack, any point in any movie in Star Wars, I'm for it. Because Star Tours, you wrote on Star Tours, you listen to it there. It's definitely a magical song. But when it comes to giving us the repercussions of his light speed jump too, because when they do eventually arrive at the base, the ship is all on fire. But before we get there, we get a touch of the training between Rey and Leia. Leia's there. But it seems like Leia's more like trying to, come on, girl, join up. Here's your lightsaber. You're ready, girl. She knows you're ready. But at the same time, we're working with what we got. But I thought they did a great job utilizing, just from the get-go, Carrie Fisher in those scenes.
Yeah, using scenes from before,
Right.
you know, unused footage for her, and I think that they utilized it very well to kind of work around those scenes and make it work for this movie.
Yeah.
So it felt like that she was a part of this movie too,
Right.
and I really did enjoy that. You know, you have that, and then of course, you know, you have Rey there. She's training. She's trying to, you know, be one with the Force. And then going on that training course too, I was like, oh, that's kind of badass. You know, you have a training course that you have to do, but it also kind of reminded me of Tomb Raider when you had to do the training courses in the game. And so it did a little bit of that, but why not have a training course for, you know, the Jedi to
very much felt like the video game, you know, with her jumping across, landing and rolling, you know, pulling the lightsaber. It did very much feel like a video game. Funny you said that, because that was my first thought when I saw that.
Yeah, there are many aspects in this film that feel like a video game too.
Does, yeah.
Because the whole thing with the Emperor building off the fleet and the outer realm and the outer reaches of space, he's essentially utilizing the Star Forge in Knights of the Old Republic. So for me, it's like, oh yeah, out there's a fortress and they're building a whole bunch of, you know, ships and mass armada and soldiers and stuff, and that's what's going to end up coming out and destroying everybody. And they were Sith, you know, run by Darth Malak and Darth Revan, and eventually Malak ended up taking it over, and Malak was going to bring them all to come destroy the Republic, essentially. So for me, it's like, okay, well, there's Knights of the Old Republic a little bit. We've got a little bit of the training, some Force Unleashed in there as well, you know, at certain points.
Yeah.
But there are some echoings of the video game world in this movie, and I don't know if I like that or not. Like, what's not to like, because it's cool and fun, but does it belong in this kind of movie?
See, for me, I neither liked it or didn't like it. It was kind of just like, meh. You know, like, it was okay.
For me, I think it worked well. I think it did show us, get us up to speed on where Rey is at and what she's doing and how capable she is.
Right.
It didn't go 100% her way. Of course, she was kind of getting beat at first, but then you see her frustration. You can kind of see that next move in her character development there.
Definitely the frustration, getting a little bit of connection as well, basically thwarting the end of the course. She didn't get to finish the course because she got distracted. And, you know, that's where you're seeing a little bit of the bickering, a little bit of like they're not unified at the moment when it comes to the Resistance, because you end up getting back there, and that's when we get Finn and Poe and the Millennium Falcon showing up, and it's on fire, and he's, you know, what's up with BB-8? You just crushed him with a tree.
Right.
He's like, what'd you do to my droid? I love the banter.
Falcon?
I love the banter. I love the banter back and forth between them. I thought it was fun for me, I would have pegged that, oh damn, they're going to be in a relationship. Like, I started
I'm
thinking
glad,
that.
but at the same time, I'm also glad that they're not in a relationship. I like that they're you know, they're a family. Families bicker,
Yeah.
so they're gonna bicker between the two. What did you do to the Millennium Falcon? Well, what did you do to baby BB-8? You know, you
Right.
always had that one off, like, well, you tell me first. No, you tell me first. Like, that's how me and my sister always were. Like, no, you tell me first. I told you, you tell me first. So
Something
it's
in this
like,
movie don't get told
do you
when they
talk
say they're
fir-
going to tell them.
But it's like, it's very Poe too. At the
Yeah.
same time, do you talk first or do I talk first? You know, like from The Force Awakens. So
Right, yeah, so you're making me fall in love with that moment a little bit more than I already did. So we end up having to figure out how to utilize the information from the mission that they went and got from the First Order spy that we just learned exists. Immediately, the second that they said First Order spy, I'm like, it's Hux! Because I wanted Hux to be a spy since Force Awakens.
Yeah, it can seem kind of obvious, I thought.
Right.
I called it. And I have more to say about him, but let's move past it for right now.
Now, with that information, though, we find out we gotta basically find the Wayfinder to find the way to find
Sith
the Emperor.
Wayfinder.
Yeah, the ancient Sith world. We have to find it. So, for me, this is the part where it's like, all right, we're going on a mission, and I'm happy about it. 3PO says goodbye to R2, you're my best friend. And then we have the gang gathering together to go and basically find an artifact that'll take us to the Wayfinder to find a way to the Sith Empire. Like, there's so I see we've got some hoops to jump through to get there.
which is very like a video game. You have to get
Right.
this piece to get this piece, but you can't go this way yet because you have to earn this part first.
Right.
You know, and then you got to come back this
Wow,
way.
the more we're
around.
talking about it, the more I'm starting to see this movie as a video game.
Right, yeah, no,
Right.
there's definitely evidence to support.
I was very glad that C-3PO was thrown into the main cast, the main
Yeah.
storyline.
Yeah,
I
me
think
too.
it was fun to see him. It was fun to hear his banter. I missed that. You didn't get that with BB-8.
Right. Yeah, BB-8 was more so like the fun companion.
Yeah.
But C-3PO is a very analytical kind of character that does contribute to the threat. He's us in the situation, saying everything's going wrong. What do we do? And you guys are not doing it correctly. You're gonna die. But you know that's the best thing that C-3PO ever brought to this story is the voice of reason. And he's been absent.
Or just the fun chanter. Like, come on, in A New Hope. Oh, they've crushed. We've killed them. Oh.
And 3PO gets some amazing moments in this movie too.
He does, yeah.
like he's done in the past.
And
He shining moment.
He
3PO.
does have shining moments, and like I said, I do love that they have the team going on in this adventure together.
Yeah.
Like all three of them,
Oh, yeah.
all four of them, including
Yeah.
Chewie, and then you got C-3PO
Yeah.
part of them as well, and then BB-8 is included as well. And you kind of poor R2-D2 is left behind. In the
He's
story.
a hard drive in
he's
the
kind
movie.
essentially he's just kind of not there anymore. But he does get a little bit. I wish they showed him a little bit more later. But he does get a little bit that I loved about R2-D2. But we'll get into that a little bit later.
R2-D2 definitely gets a shining moment in the
Yeah.
very end. And we're off to Burning Man. We go to Burning
Burning Man.
Yeah, it's basically
That's what it
Burning
is.
Man. Yeah.
What is this place?
And you know what? It was cool. You know what was cool about it? The practical effects. I was in love with everything they were showing on screen for the puppets and the practical animatronics and stuff that they were using for all the different characters.
Yeah.
Right.
The little girl that she was talking to when she's asking about her name. I mean, it was kind of blatant because it's like, all right, a little girl came up and talked to her. It's so wondrous and so mystical. So I'll buy into it because that's kind of the very fantasy side of things. A little girl that comes up and talks to the hero and lays on her something. But really what she laid on her was a way to screw them all over, which was a nice little
Right.
moment.
Well, no, even bringing back to the puppeteer, I love that the fact that they did bring Maz Kanata back, but she is now a puppet in this
Yeah.
movie. And that's why you don't even get her, like, she doesn't even bring it down because it's unnecessary. And she seems more real in this
Right.
movie
Yeah.
because she is a puppet.
Right.
And I absolutely love the fact that they decided to do that instead of doing the CGI version like they did in Force Awakens.
Of course. They're definitely showing the future with what they can do with the animatronics and the puppeteering, especially with like Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance. And of course we get those little puppet laughing kids that are like watching the puppet show too.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel for them when you find out later that, oh damn, the First Order just came and raided them, which sucks. But of course Leia's more concerned about the fact that, we need the mission can't fail. But yeah, we get a fucking arrow through the eye of a stormtrooper.
That was pretty cool. That was
That was good. That was good. That was a good moment. It's brutal. It's brutal. You haven't really
At the
seen that.
hands of one of our favorite returning characters.
Yeah, and he did good. How you doing, buddy? Chewie! His excitement was there, and I was worried. I'm worried about Billy D's performance because he's so much older. He's kind of been out of the game a bit. He just doesn't seem as quick as he was back then, because quick leads to suave. And I felt like I was concerned, was he going to have the SWAT? And when he took off that mask, which is so Return of the Jedi.
I know.
So Return
It
of the
did remind
Jedi.
me of that very much so.
Yeah.
But when he did, I was like, oh yeah, that is Lando. Like, he did bring back,
Yeah.
like, just an older Lando. But
Yeah.
he did have that suave, swag part of for him,
Right.
too.
And then we get the I got a bad feeling about
Yeah,
this.
that was...
Which is much, I get it, it's part of the Star Wars lore, but at the same time, it's got to be somewhere, I guess.
It made me chuckle. Go.
That's what it is, though. It's a cheap laugh.
For me, actually, I kind of rolled my eyes at that part. I'm like, why are you using this line again? Like, we've already got this line before. Like,
I
move
get it.
past the line. Like,
Yeah, I
we're
get
done
it.
with that line.
Yeah, and they do that a couple times, and there's one or two that I'm okay with, but it did feel like shoehorn when it comes to its placement. But either way, yeah, you get Lando, sending them on this mission, and you get a little bit of backstory. I came here with Luke.
I have a question.
That's
for
cool.
you. So before Lando gets there, they do have the Force moment between Rey and Kylo.
Right.
The fact that he's able to pull the necklace through the Force vision.
Sure.
I never asked you guys what you thought about that.
See, I thought that it was just exposition for something that's going to come later for those two characters. Like, it was just a moment for them to have it where he's able to pull something from her, or
Right.
they're able to have those moments. And that does technically happen again, where these things happen to fall into different spots.
Right.
But I feel like it was to set up what happens at the end of the movie.
No.
For me, that's what I have for me.
You're right, and that's a way to look at it. But if you go one tick back to The Last Jedi, it was when they were talking to each other, and he was in the
water.
rain, and he had the water on his glove. And that was the very first idea
Right.
of transformation
Which is-
from one to another.
Right, but it was very subtle. It
Of
wasn't
course,
him.
that-
But that's all
that
you
was-
needed. That's
that
what
was
you
the
needed.
spark.
Right, but it wasn't him, like, pulling something
Correct.
from her.
The power itself, I love it. I think it's cool. You're in a shared space, a force connection, and you're capable of manipulating, but it's within a field. It's a literal force field, and things are coming
true.
into
It
it.
kind of gave me the idea of the fact that, like, there's so much that you could do with the Force that we've never really touched on,
Right.
except for, like, maybe in the books, maybe in the EU, they touched a little bit more about the Force.
Right.
But in the movies, you never really get a whole lot about what's happening with the Force, even with the dark side of the Force,
Sure.
with the Sith.
I will say that I did enjoy what they did. I thought it was a very clever way of doing it. But a part of me is also like, oh, well, what other new superhero powers do they got that we're just now learning about?
Sure, and I could
And-
totally see how you can catch that in your net of like, hey, things I need to actually ponder and think about. But at the same time, it's like I think the games also help realizing that there are other force
Oh,
powers
absolutely.
available at your. This is just a
Again,
real big
going
one.
back to the games, like
Sure.
they're feeling like a video game.
Yeah, except this is more of like, a metaphysical type Doctor Strange connection, astral projection, but it exists in the Star Wars universe. And for that, yeah, it was a new thing added with Last Jedi, and it's another thing that's being continued, and it's a big part of the story, and they use it for their benefit. So what makes a Jedi, more deadlier than being able to transfer weapons to each other in battle, in the middle of battle? So it is very powerful stuff. That is how they end up finding them. They're on the planet. And then we get, this cool little skiff chase with the cycles, and it's in the sand, and it feels, very Star Wars-y.
Right.
Like, it felt like Return of the Jedi, where we got the speeder bikes chase.
And the quotes from C-3PO.
Right, I was gonna say that
Don't
is
go between them.
one of my favorite quotes from C-3PO. This very good job, sir. Terrible job, sir.
It definitely...
Or excellent job, sir, or whatever. But I love it.
It definitely did give us a laugh. It was an adventurous moment in an adventure movie.
They fly now?
Yeah, they fly now.
They fly now!
And I feel like you would have known they flew now. Come on, they're the First Order. They got to have those kinds of powers. So jetpacks is very archaic, so of course they have jetpacks. But it was a bit, and it was funny. You do get some of the BB-8 foreshadowing when he first showed up in the village. He's looking at the little canisters, and you see kind of like a poof. And he ends up like looking at it later, and never underestimate a droid, man. BB-8 helps them, gets the guy freaking in the cloud, and then he gets jacked up, very Return of the Jedi, like crashing into a rock. And one thing that I think they did really well in this movie was the reactions and the impact of stormtroopers from the First Order getting wrecked.
Getting wrecked or screaming,
wrecked.
you hear them, and
It's brutal.
You hear the noise, yeah.
It's brutal, especially like when the one dude goes flying off the jetpack and it's boom, and he's just gone. You're like,
Yeah.
that was a bit excessive and much. Like, that's how I felt when he's like, "Ah!" It's like, holy crap, dude. You're getting brutal with it. I love it, but that was a bit much. In a cool way. I like that they set that up. Because they're stormtroopers, you know, they're faceless, you know, soldiers, foot soldiers. But you want to see them get wrecked because we wrecked them when we were kids, you know, throwing them around,
That's
falling
right.
off stuff. And then they do the Wilhelm scream, which I don't think I heard a Wilhelm scream.
It was a variation of the Wilhelm
Was it?
scream. Yeah, like they did their own version. Like they
Sure.
didn't do exactly what it was, but you're like, that kind of feels like stock scream, but it wasn't like the general Wilhelm scream.
I like that. I like that if there is a variation and you didn't just flat out do it, because that's another one where it's like you're just doing it in each one, but it kind of makes sense because it's a sound effect versus a full-on line of dialogue.
They just took the part from Tom Cruise in the airplane when he's like, ah!
The Mummy.
Yeah.
Sinking Fields, though. I love that shot when the skiffs end up flipping over and they just go head over heels or heels over head, essentially, when they're flying into the sinking fields. But at one point, C-3PO's feet were sticking out, and then all of a sudden it came back and his head was sticking out.
Yeah.
I'm like, 3PO, you didn't flip around that quick. You can't
Yeah.
do that. But when they're in the sinking fields, it felt a lot like Harry Potter for me. They're like, "God, don't struggle!"
Yeah, don't struggle, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they sink in. And then it does bring up to a moment where it brings a question and that doesn't come up. It comes up later, but you never
That
get
gets
the answer to
frustrating.
it.
Yeah,
And
it's a little frustrating.
why would you put that in there if you're not even going to give
You
us
must
like
be
that
talking
moment?
about when Finn's about to say, Ray, I gotta tell you something.
Yeah,
Yes,
I gotta
it's like,
tell you. And it
why?
sounds like he starts with an R. Like he's like, "Ruh," and then he's gone into
Yeah.
the devil snare.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, but he's like, Ray, I have something to tell you. Ah, and it's like, okay. And then he's like, no, I'll tell you for another time.
I'll
And
tell
then
you
it's
later.
like,
Oh, it's 'cause of
when
that Poe's
Poe is
here?
here.
Yeah.
And it's like,
And we're like, okay, maybe they will have a moment later.
Doesn't happen.
When is that moment?
yeah.
That's why if we continue on, it can continue on sometime. I don't know when. Maybe we'll get an answer. If it's something they're setting up for the next trilogy. Well, they don't want to do trilogies anymore. I applaud
I get
them.
it.
Let's not do
Yeah.
it. Let's just
Yeah.
go story
Yeah.
to story.
Right.
And I feel like that would maybe they're setting that up for something in the future, and we're
Right,
just,
and
Still, but that's again.
I
that's
agree. It's
us-
very prominent.
That's us just trying to
Yeah.
make sense of it.
You're
Right,
right.
exactly.
We're watching this movie as
Absolutely.
its own. Why? Why did you bring that up if you're never ever going to revisit? That's just lazy writing almost.
Yeah.
Feels like it. Or it's like, damn, you're trying to play a long game, but you shouldn't be trying to play long games right now for something that we don't think's existing. Which,
Right.
granted, we did the same thing in Return of the Jedi. We thought it was over, and then it's like, 7, 8, and 9. So now you're trying to fit that into it because we knew there was an after story. We had it. And the after story ended up getting continued on this way. So we're re-altering history in our brains, and it's like things have been done, things haven't been done, but we take it from there. I do love, I don't know, I love it and I don't. I think it's the sound effect that kind of ruins it for me. And it's when Poe ends up pulling out his flashlight when she pulls out the lightsaber, which I love that she's using it for light, like in
Like in the video.
yeah,
Fallen
Fallen
Order.
Order. But we do get the boink. And I'm like, why did flashlights don't make that noise? Why did it do that? But it was
Well,
for
it's like
comedy.
to turn
it was
on,
a
but
silly
yeah,
moment.
I get it.
It's just silly.
Because
even make
which
it
one
more
of us
silly.
has not taken a flashlight, turn it on, and pretend it was a lightsaber?
I get it. The sound effects what pushed it a little over
Yeah.
for me because it's very silly. But either way, it's a funny moment. It's a funny moment and shows that inferiority. Does she do that to us? Where you know they're worried, man. She's got some powers. Although Poe is more so the one that is like the Han Solo and doesn't really believe it. Believes you should be out fighting because we could use you in a fight versus
Yeah.
what you're doing with their training. You're kind of wasting time right now.
Right.
But it ends up saving their ass in the end. But yeah, getting into that cave, it was very suspenseful, kind of scary too, because you don't know what's happening.
Then you get yourself a little basilisk.
That's what I thought. But again, practical effects. Like, I can't tell if it was CG at certain points, but that thing looked real, like the breathing and the teeth, and it was definitely nice to see a monster or a beast in the Star Wars
Yeah,
universe.
and then we get introduced
Practically.
to another thing that the Force is used for
Right.
in Force healing
Yeah.
with this character. And we were even talking about it too, how it's like, oh, it feels like we're just getting to know this Force healing powers, but it's been around
Yeah.
in
Oh,
the video
absolutely.
games and stuff. And then of course we were even talking about how in A New Hope, where you have Luke that gets knocked out by the Tusken Raiders, and then you have Obi-Wan coming, and he does a thing on on Luke's head, like a probably a healing to him, and
Of
then
course.
it's like, oh, he's fine.
Yeah.
So it's always been around.
He's unconscious. Luke's unconscious, laying on the floor, and Obi-Wan Kenobi goes over, bends down, puts his hands on his head for a considerable time. And then R2-D2 chimes up. He gives us a hello there, and he says, "Oh, no, he'll be all right."
Don't worry, he'll be all right.
And it's like, he'll be all right because you just fix him, and then Luke wakes up. So he absolutely did something to heal whatever knocked him unconscious, because it's all in the head. Obviously, he's knocked out. So when it comes to that Force healing, you got it prevalent in every single one of the video games. Like, your Jedi characters were all capable of Force healing, except in like the 90s and the early 2000s when you get the little red brick. It's like, health! Well, that's when you're Dash Rendar. But when it comes down to the Force healing, we just got it in an episode of The Mandalorian. If you haven't watched The Mandalorian, I'm sorry, you should be watching it because it came out a few days ago. But we get Force healing there, which I don't know. It's like, oh hey, so you're aware before you go into The Rise of Skywalker, or hey, see, we're doing it now. Force healing, it's a new thing,
Well,
and it double whammy with it, so you can get it and be okay with it when you watch it.
Well, like you said, here it is. Here's it. Again, it was another power that just kind of came out of nowhere.
Sure.
Especially for someone who wasn't technically trained in the ways of the Jedi. She just had a second-hand training from Leia. So how was this? I guess that's my problem with that. I liked the Force movements, but this seemed a little bit believable, but like, how did we get there so quickly?
Sure. Secondhand training from Leia. The only thing I could say to that, she called her master, and Leia almost completed the training but didn't at the very end because it was going to lead to Ben's death. And the problem is Luke never even went to training. Like, he did training on Dagobah, and then he just had to go save his friends. So he never completed the training. So his new training was just, guess what? You got to confront Vader.
Sure.
That's your new training. So, but I feel like she could be just as powerful. The imbalance comes to where, like, damn, she is just like super powerful because they show her with the rocks when she was first sitting there, and she can not just drop, like she gracefully floats down
Right,
and like
did a
stands there,
flip and
then now she's capable of healing.
Yeah.
I get it. I see it, absolutely. She is overpowered, and what you end up leaning into is her lineage is the reason why versus really anything else.
That's true too, but at the same time about the Force healing power, I was like okay with it because of what we saw in The Mandalorian. With the Force healing, because that one, it showed a little bit where it's like that.
I'm not saying that it doesn't exist in the world or it shouldn't exist. I'm
Sure.
just saying it just felt like all of a sudden all these powers are coming onto her right now, and I felt like it wasn't organically growing.
The way that they do it in, like, the way they do it in The Mandalorian too, though, so that's why I'm saying, oh, okay, it's just a part of, like, it's a feeling that they can do.
And that's kind of what I, like, sum it up to. It is, just something she just knew and feel that she could do.
That all Jedi.
And it's the same way as how she was capable of telling the stormtroopers to do what she needs them to do, and not having any sort of training. I get it. It comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel as organic as it should. It definitely is face value when it comes to it showing up. She just can.
Like, the way that I feel like the Jedis are is that their training is to control and harness their power.
Yeah.
They're Jedi, like those who are Force sensitive and kind of have that Force powers, they can do that, like, do it.
Sure.
But I think that the training that you need to be a Jedi is to control it, is to, harness it and use it when you need to.
All right.
Instead of being,
That's
like,
fair.
unhinged.
Yeah. Look at Baby Yoda. He knows that he has these powers. I don't think he
but
was
he's
ever
never
shown.
been trained before.
Yeah, no, that makes absolute perfect sense. They are
fair.
forced. They got the Force powers. They're able to utilize them. Some can't control them. It's basically like a superhero power. You don't know what to do with
like
it.
even in The Last Jedi, when you saw the little kid, he Force got
the
the
broom kid.
broom, and then like they
You're right.
have these
You're right.
powers. It's just they don't know how to really control them a whole lot.
And it's a good way to explain those moments. And if you're again, coming up with solutions on
Right.
your own to make it work for your
Yeah,
benefit.
exactly.
That's what you end up doing. But you're right. It absolutely is
And I
something
think in
that
a
is,
form of that, it's better to do it in long form, like
Sure.
in a show.
Yeah.
To kind of, for you to understand this instead of
And that's
trying
a-
to figure it out in a 2.5 hour movie.
That
Right.
really is a recent discovery that I think as a society we realize we kind of
course.
like these long formats so we
Sure.
can get more in depth with these stories. But if we're going to do a movie, there are certain things we have to sacrifice for. So
Right.
Putting them together too, like in unison, in synchronization, when it goes from movie to show, like what they're going to do with Marvel and how the Marvel shows are going to interconnect with the cinematic universe more closely than they could have when it was on Netflix or ABC. So for me, combining the stories with the Mandalorian, I felt like the second I knew Force powers were going to be utilized for healing in this movie, or like the second I knew it was going to be in this Disney universe, was in The Mandalorian, was the first time when he goes and he's walking up to him. Chapter 2, and he's
adorable.
he's
Thing.
going
So
to heal him.
adorable.
And that was that moment when I'm like, oh, force healing, of course, all right, we're gonna get force healing in the live action universe. We've had it in the video game universe and in the books. So for me, that's when I was like, oh, force healing. So it felt organic for me, because they were able to connect them that way. But there's things that they just expect you to do just cause. And that is, why is the Emperor back? Just cause. Why is this happening? Just cause. There's just things that you have to accept that we're not going to get explained.
Right, and it does come to that point too where they're on that planet.
Right.
And you have the First Order, and they capture Chewie. And you're
Right.
like, oh God, what's going on? And
Yeah.
then you see Kylo come through, and of course you do the shot from the trailer.
Cool
which is
shot with the Knights of
The
Ren
jumping.
too.
Oh yeah, cool shot with the Knights of Ren.
With the Michael Bayes.
Which I have.
It's good. I liked it. It looked cool.
But
thrown
and then
in
of
a
course you
JJ's
have the thing when she's
Sunflare.
flying, and then she hits the lightsaber and all
Yeah.
of that, and then you get that moment where, oh no, Chewie's captured. What do you
Yeah.
do? And then she's just like, and she holds the ship, and I was like,
Force
you
Unleashed?
can hold the ship? Cool.
In the
right.
cinematic, she can.
Video
yeah,
game,
yeah.
sure. And then of course you have Kylo doing it. I'm like, no, I could do it too.
Sure.
And they're pushing it back and forth, and then of course you get that moment
Yeah, with
where she
Chewie.
pushes so hard and she
It's
goes
good.
And it blows
good.
up.
with the lightning, and you're like, what
I do
the-
like how Kylo just kind of steps back like, holy shit, what happened? But what I'm going to say, because later he's like, I meant to push you that far. I'm like, bullshit, dude, your expression said you were surprised as hell that
Yeah,
happened.
of course. He's arrogant. He can't be seen in the wrong.
I think it was more so that he had an inkling because of like who is she at the beginning when he's talking
Right,
to
because
Palpatine.
he wasn't told who she was. He just said she has a past that she don't
Right,
know.
like you don't know who you think she is, but then I think he told her a little bit, but then he was surprised that
He
she
kinda
could
figured
do
it
that,
out.
and then he's like, oh, okay, then.
She's very powerful. We know this. She's got a lot of power. Again, it's because lineage. But when it comes down to killing Chewie, I mean, I heard people in the theater kind of audibly, make a noise because they thought that was it. They thought that's Chewie's gone.
The first time we watched it, I was like, oh, so that's how you're gonna kill Chewie?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, because this was the last movie.
Let's not
I
give
was
him a
like,
medal and let's just
sure.
kill him.
Right. I was like, okay, you're gonna kill Chewie. Like, it didn't phase me because
No.
we got that kind of that when they did that with Luke, like, oh,
Yeah.
he's gone, and I was like, oh, they're just gonna kill him like that.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Kill the old guard, get the new one in.
Admiral
Yeah.
Akbar, like, okay, so you're
Oh, he's
treating
dead?
Chewie like Akbar.
Yeah.
You're killing him, and it had an impact, and it's like, yeah, I could see where your impact is in terms of getting the audience reaction, but dang, all right, well, I guess that's the way you're gonna go. I'm happy they didn't.
Right.
I'm happy they didn't, but I expected them to do it that way
Right.
from what they've already done
Right,
in the
before,
trilogy.
so it didn't really phase
that's when your
me.
expectations balance you out. You're like, all right, you're just kind of watching it play out, and you don't agree with it because
Right.
it's like, well, this isn't what I want for Chewie. That's what happens. You bring your own bias to
True.
the show. And you end up getting the death of Chewie, and they're all, sad. It's very kind of Obi-Wan going down in A New Hope, and they're all sad. Luke more so than Princess Leia.
Yeah, he just died, but we gotta go. We gotta move.
And that's also Luke not being able to, cope with a lot of
Yeah.
those things, and that's the Skywalker lineage. That's why I like better with lineage when it's that kind of stuff, traits pass forward. But I guess it's like, well, the midichlorians are getting more powerful once we get to the Jedi. And I turned into Kermit the Frog. But Kermit the Frog is my sarcastic, drinking the tea. Like, that's when he comes out. But they end up getting away, they gotta get out of there because Ren ship's destroyed. You got the First Order on their tail. And they gotta skedaddle because they just lost Chewie and they need to figure out what the hell they're gonna do next. So they end up joining, they end up getting on the ship, the very familiar ship that Rey knows about from the past. So we're like, all right, we're getting that kind of connection. We know the Sith Loyalist was involved.
The Jedi Hunter.
The Jedi Hunter. And it's like, we are getting a little bit more into this world, but the problem was Chewie had the dagger, and it's like, oh dang, that means the First Order has the dagger now, because they're going to be able to get through the rubble and get it out at that point. But yeah, then 3PO gets a freaking hilarious line. Like, oh yeah, it's too bad I have it in my memory.
Oh yeah, it's too bad I have it all in my memory.
It's all in my memory. I can't say it. Oh well. But even then, they're on that old ship, and then you got that new character, D.O.
Yeah, D.O.
The new merchandise character.
Yeah.
It's really what I feel like it is. There's no point. And what I don't like is when they got on the ship, they're like, oh, well, he looks abused.
He's been on shit forever and nobody's taking care of him.
I'm not going to lie, he was a cute little robot.
No,
Yeah,
no,
you
thank
can't really come with that conclusion. It's like, how are you coming with that conclusion? He's been abused. He's knocked unconscious because guess what? It's been a derelict ship.
Right,
forever.
he's been abused, and then like, oh, are we gonna get a backstory on what had happened on this ship or how he was abused?
No, he'll be.
No,
in
but
one
it'll
of
just
those-
be like this thing with Finn. We don't want to know the rest of it.
It will be in a children's book. You'll figure out why.
Yeah, because he does kind of fade out a little bit after a while. He does a no thank you, and then he's done. We're done with
I
him.
miss her. When Rey's gone.
Yeah, when he's like, I miss her too. And Dio was fine because it was the voice.
It just
like,
needed, like,
They
it was
technically,
cute, but
they technically use him later
sure,
a little bit.
right?
It's kind of just like they needed a sidekick for BB-8, like C-3PO to R2-D2. They needed a BB-8 to D-O.
Felt forced.
Yeah.
Felt forced in a movie about the Force. But we get when they're leaving the planet too. You end up getting that recall, that little bit of reference from The Empire Strikes Back when the Knights of Ren are like just chilling in their ship. And they take off on this new ship.
There goes
and they're
Slave
like,
two.
"Well, here we go."
We'll call it
Slave
slave. No, we'll call it theirs
do
order
it again.
slave. So their ship is Slave 2 because Slave 1 is the one that in the Empire Strikes Back. But yeah,
it definitely did have that reminiscence, and for that, it's like it's fine. But it's also
very
maybe
Star Wars in
yeah,
that sense,
yeah.
though.
It's something that takes place in the Star Wars universe. I guess more often than it did when we saw it in the original trilogy.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
And then that adds that next step in your level of the video game that it's like, well, now we got to go figure out how to translate what's in C-3PO's head because guess what, it's in Sith and he's not allowed to do it. I like that aspect. I like that there was a little bit of government talk where it's like, oh, they made it so that way these droids can no longer translate Sith because of what it will end up bringing, and it's like you end up getting like, oh damn, like you had to take steps to stop the Sith because guess what, Sith were rampant, go back, like the Old Republic.
Which should make sense.
Yeah.
In the old guard with the Jedi Council, why would we allow this to happen?
Yeah.
Right.
And even the freaking First Order is kind of hesitant with the whole acquisition of this vanguard, this entire, armada from the Emperor. It's like, what does he want? What does he want? Like, what's he want from us? So even they're like, oh shit, like, what do we do? Because it's coming back in full force. So in order to do that, we got to get to Poe's backstory, just a smidge, just a touch.
little bit.
Which is weird because Poe was in like the Navy when it comes to the Resistance. So I feel like that was his lineage when it came to coming in.
And like
so we're getting a little bit more. So maybe he joined the Navy after. I don't know.
Very Han Solo.
Yeah.
Like we said, very solo. You know, he's kind of a scoundrel there. He's a spice runner. He goes and joins the Resistance.
Yeah.
In that sense, he knows how to maneuver. He knows some maneuvers.
This guy knows maneuvers.
So you have that, and then of course you get the new characters.
Zori Bliss.
Yeah.
Zori Bliss.
I love
which
Carrie Russell.
I do love Carrie
Russell.
Russell,
Honey,
and
I blew up the kid.
I do wish they used her a little bit more.
I wish they used
feel
her more
like they
too.
didn't use
There
her very
were-
much, and that she was just kind of there as a character for Poe.
I agree. I think there are a lot of characters that were in this movie that were completely underutilized.
Yep.
And she was one of them. And they're like, you come with us. I was like, cool. We're going to have another person on the ship. never mind.
Yeah, I love the relationship
John's
though that she did have with Poe. I do like that kind of comedic banter that they had, where he's like, "Can I get a kiss?" And no, and then when like later in the end when he's like looking at her, he's like, "Okay," like it's playful, and he just kind of moves on. But they have history. You get the Spice Runner, but the most important acquisition of the film we do end up getting, and that's Babu Freak. Babu Freak.
Babu Freak.
Amazing.
Hey. I love Babu Freak. Like, he is probably one of my favorite parts of this movie altogether.
Right.
Like, just, so when we first watched it and we were watching his character and everything, I was like, oh, I love this character. And then the second time, I was like, yeah, we're getting to the story. We're getting to our favorite part because I love this character so much.
Well, that's what it is. He's a classic Star Wars character the way they did it. He's very simple, doesn't have much going on, but he says the right thing at the right moment and provides important substance to it.
I Babu Freak.
You're my oldest friend, Babu Freak.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is you kind of get into this world. We've got the First Order showing up, but they're already there. Like, you got Kylo Ren showing up. But I do love that we get a little bit of what felt like Rebels, is that the First Order is the claiming of children, that they claim the children from the villages and they're utilizing them for the First Order.
Yeah.
So you're kind of getting to see that. And then, like Zori Bliss said, is she couldn't stand the cries anymore, so she's trying to get out. Because it's very Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, too, you know? This big empire comes in and steals your children to work for them, to do what they want. And it ends up being, reminiscent throughout history and leading into the far, far away universe. But so that was something that I thought was cool to look in on. But one little aspect that I didn't notice till the second watch is when they're in there and they're trying to get 3PO all coordinated, and Babu Frick's trying to do his thing. The Star Destroyer shows up that Kylo Ren is on, but we get it when they're in the room. They never go outside until after it's already there. So you're there and you just hear this, "Ooh," and the building shakes, and they're just like, and they go and they open and the Star Destroyer's already there. I was like, oh, that's something I've never seen before. What's it like when a Star Destroyer shows up in the atmosphere?
I did not notice that.
Second time. Took me the second time, and I was like, that is a cool aspect to be able to see that I've never seen before. And it's just, they're trying to get it all going while Ren is there. The Empire's like at their freaking door, which I did think they maneuvered a little too easily in that village for the amount of stormtroopers that were there.
Right.
They're like the only ones on the street, but they made it just fine.
And
But
then
still.
once again, you get a shot of the Knights of Ren,
Yeah.
and that's it. They're
Yeah.
just walking. They don't do anything, and they're just there. Like, they're like,
got
oh, remember the Knights of Ren. Remember we, and then I feel like they just had to put them in this movie because they talked about it before.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, we never got anything, so let's just put them in here. But they don't do anything.
No.
I have more to say about them later.
So, getting into the analysis and where we're going, and we end up getting 3PO to wipe his memory, where one look at my friends. The people that were commenting in our YouTube trailer reactions about how, like, why would he say that? It's not emotional because they don't even know them. Like, he doesn't even know them or whatever.
Right.
Like, there is no connection between them for him to say that. Their complaint, in my opinion, holds up watching the movie because they treat him like crap the entire time up to that point. And even when he's like, oh, I'm here just to let you know, you didn't ask, but I'm here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm okay.
Yeah, come on, you guys are dicks to 3PO, and 3PO is always the voice of reason, so that's where I'm like, no, yeah, I get it. Like, why would he say that? 3PO is so nice.
Fair.
3PO is so great for what he does in this movie. He's a hero, you know?
C-3PO.
Yeah, never underestimate a droid. And when it comes to 3PO...
I mean, it really truly is, because they're like, all right, now we got to wipe his memory. And they start talking without caring what the hell C-3PO wants or does.
Right.
Yeah, well, okay, we'll go wipe his
and
memory.
guess what? When it comes back, they don't even freaking care or notice that it's back.
Yeah.
Like, they have no clue. But anyways, that's also another thing I didn't like, is like, I was sitting here like, sakes, come on, 3PO's had his memory wiped before and we had to start anew with 3PO.
Yeah.
It's sad loss. It's a crappy loss to lose from 3PO as a character in stories. But then it's gone. It comes right back.
Even then, like, okay, R2-D2 had his memory backup.
Yeah.
BB-8 couldn't have done that real quick.
Yeah.
But they also
That's
talk
true.
about that too when he's like, his memory's getting wiped, and Finn goes, doesn't R2-D2 back up your memory? And
Correct.
C-3PO's like, well, his backup memory is
Known to be
famously
shoddy. Yeah.
unreliable.
There
So
you
they
go.
do
Perfect.
show that a little bit about that. So R2-D2 does have his memory bank there,
And-
but it's like, is he gonna be like what he was before,
Sure.
or
It's right. It's like
Is it like?
and they were no,
we
but
know what you're gonna say.
it reminds me of, so this happened to me. So basically it's when you plug in your iPhone to your laptop to back up all of your stuff, and you think you backed up all of your stuff, and then you get a new phone, and then I go to back it up, and it's like, oh, the last time you backed up was in January, and I was like, well, crap. All the things from January to now are all gone.
It's a very relevant way to apply it to today's society.
So that's kind of what it reminded me of.
I get it. But I like that it was right before the mission, though, because he's like, I'm going on the first mission we read. But we are getting ahead of ourselves. But the only thing in that line about R2D2 being unreliable is that they just used him for a very important mission with the First Order spy.
Yeah.
Like, they plugged him into R2. It's like, wait, so if he's famously unreliable, why are you using him for the most important mission that is happening? So that's why I didn't like that line. It's like, oh, I think but just because, and then I think of it just because he's seen him jerk freaking Luke around when it comes to playing back the message. What message?
So that, like, also too, it's like that whole like that whole part. He's like, I'm taking a look one last time at my friends,
right.
and it's like, well, then he gets his memory back and he remembers all of them. So it's like, it doesn't really matter.
It took away from the entire situation. So getting into C-3PO's brain, we end up finding out the destination of where we're heading. His eye go all red, and he ends up turning into some weird, just verbatim Sith notepad. And he's just reading what it says. And we know we're going back to the coordinates is Endor. It's an Endor moon of sorts. But we can't go because a feeling has been felt.
Yes. So Rey feels that Chewie's alive and he's on the ship, so obviously they have to go rescue Chewbacca. So they have to get that, so they can boost up their XP points so that they can learn new Force powers.
There you go. It's a video game.
Well, then it's very convenient too that Zori Bliss has the level up coin that gets you into the next level.
The key. She got the key. She's got the key that's going to unlock the next level.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's great because guess what? We go to a Star Destroyer. We're on a Star Destroyer. It's fun. We see Hux, and this is already, like, I had already exclaimed in my heart that Hux was going to end up being the spy. But when they brought in Chewbacca and showed us that he was alive when she felt him, and he's standing there and they're like, take him to the interrogation. Like, the look of Hux was already, like, if you're watching Hux, there's concern. There's concern in his eyes. It's even more concerned when they say that they need to execute Poe and Finn when they finally get up to the ship. But at that point, I'm already like, Hux is going to be the spy. And then we end up getting on the ship. We get a little bit of infiltration. They use the coin. They're running around. There is no right way, is there? Like, they're just going and there's stormtroopers everywhere.
A little bit of funny moments, using the full Jedi mind trick.
Right,
You are happy that we are here.
Right.
We're glad you're here.
Yeah.
You want to use some death sticks?
Yeah, I do love. I see magic is also kind of a force power. We end up getting Rey getting into another, connection with Rey or with Kylo Ren, and he's on the surface of the planet, and she's in his quarters, and they're having their skirmish, and it's a nice fight. It's a good lightsaber fight. I do like the
I do like it when they go back and forth between where he's at and where she's at.
Great
and
cinematography.
It
does.
Right.
Yeah.
Where it flashes between the back and forth when they hit something and it falls to her, and then when she hits something and it falls to him, and that's when they find out that she's on the
because he knocks over the Darth
because he knocks the Darth Vader helmet, and you're like, oh, well, I know exactly where you are.
Right. And the boys get caught. That's what sucks too, is they're running and gunning and they get overpowered immediately, get caught, and that's when we get the reveal that Hux is doing the whole boom boom boom. It's kind of the Mandalorian trope right now, where it's like we're gonna shoot and we don't know who's shooting who.
I think they do that a lot when they don't want you to know.
Sure.
Like it. So it's like
they use it a lot more recently.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's fun because Hux, I do love that we get a connection to his character in the line he delivers where he's like, I don't care if you win. I want Ren to lose. And
I get it because
just like him.
You see that the tension between him and Kylo throughout the movie, through the trilogy too. So for him to be like, I don't care if you win, I just want Kylo to lose. You're like, that is the Hux. Yeah. That is Hux. But I also love when you realize that it's Hux that is the the spy, and they're like, you?
Yeah.
And then Poe's like, I knew it.
I knew it. So did I, Poe, from the get-go. But what gave me kind of hesitation, because for me, my General Hux that I wanted was infiltration. I wanted somebody who's a part of the Resistance and part of the New Republic to infiltrate the First Order to a level of being able to take them down in the end.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted from Hux. I wanted him to be there the whole time, and then we'd get a turn.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, it would have been so good.
I will say at first, though, when they did say, like, it was me, I was the spy, I was like, really? Like, I understand that you felt it from the beginning,
Sure.
but for me, I was just kind of like, okay, you're kind of throwing that in there that he's the spy. That's just, I don't want that for Hux. But then when they explain, like, why he was the spy, I was like, okay, I get it
fits
now.
his character.
I need you to shoot me in the arm so they can believe me. And he shoots him in the leg.
No,
Doesn't help him.
no, it doesn't help him, and that's what I do love about
frustrating
not
me.
helping him.
I don't like the fact that it didn't help him.
It fit his character. That's the only
did.
thing I can do is like it fit the kind of rat that Hux was.
It was, but it was such an opportunity I think they missed. He was so underutilized in this position, like
versus being the spy throughout and
right,
being
and maybe taking down some of these Star Destroyers from within, you know.
Yeah.
But instead they're like, nah, you're dead. We're moving on.
I get it. He could have been there the rest of the movie and helping them up to the very end. You're right. That would have made it a little bit better. But at the same time, because his character was a rat, his ending met with a rat's ending, which is unfortunate because I built something way more for Hux. Hearing it was Donald Gleason, like I was hopeful. It's like if you were to freaking cast Paul Dano in Star Wars, I'm expecting the best, and I ended up getting a rat. But it's fine. It was a place for it. Richard E. Grant, so good
So
the
good.
entire
I
time
did
that
like
he's
his
around.
Character, yeah, General Pride.
Yeah, General Pride, man, and he ends up taking out freaking Hux so quick. I
love it. He
hair
just
flashes.
hesitation.
I love it too. Like no phase, anything. He's like, "Poof, just tell him we found our rat.
Yeah, tell him we found our spy.
Our spy. Yeah.
Yeah, I use rat so much. That's sorry.
Well, we'll just call him Rat,
synonymous.
yeah.
You watched The Departed too recently. But when it comes down to getting off the Star Destroyer, I love that they see the Millennium Falcon, and he's just like, she's a resilient one, you know. She could survive anything, and there she is. We get on the Millennium Falcon. Rey, it's too late. We end up getting Kylo Ren there, and he told her when he offers her his hand the next time, she was gonna take it. And I love how it's kind of like the reflipical of what he had in the first one, where it's a very big decision that he had to make to kill Han Solo. It's a very big decision that she's going to make, or at least it feels like she's going to make, to join Kylo Ren because they were sitting at the throne together. Like, she feels like it's her destiny. It's scaring the crap out of her. So I love that scene where he just offers her the hand, and you got all the stormtroopers, and then you end up getting the Millennium Falcon hovering above her, blasting them with the afterburner. It's cool. It's a really
And
cool
he uses
visual
the Force
moment.
to hold himself.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's cool. I do love when Finn ended up coming down the lift and he ends up having the mask on, the oxygen mask too, because it's like, yeah, oxygen mask, of course. Like, that's part of the Millennium Falcon, especially when you're opening up the door to an atmosphere you aren't sure of. Then you get into the semantics of it. It's like, whoa, wait, is there an airlock like there that's going to keep you from... No, it's like, did everyone get sucked out? So
Right, she kind of steps on the edge too.
Right. But it's Star Wars. I could get over
yeah,
that because that's the fantasy aspect of it.
You could hear them scream in space. So.
That's true, and explosions, which
Yeah.
isn't supposed to happen. And it's cool how Janna right off the bat does like the whole
Pachoo,
scope
pachoo, gotcha.
from A New
That's
Hope. 'Cause,
exactly what I thought.
they're reading your signs. They're figuring out who you are as you're arriving. So that's what's cool is that they added that in there because guess what? They're stormtroopers. They are stormtroopers. Not only Finn was the one to awaken. I love that.
Yeah.
You should have elaborated on that.
Makes so much sense that would have happened.
3-hour-long movie. Show us the stormtroopers. They are a whole freaking platoon that woke up and said, no, Naeth, and we are going to fight against you now. And that's what's awesome. Like, that brought a love to The Force Awakens that I wanted more too from The Force Awakens. I thought, oh damn, people are waking up to go after the Empire. And it ended up being very small, but in the end, it didn't really matter. They threw it in here, and it's like, all right, well, I got a little bit, but I wanted a lot more of that. It would have been more fruitful for you to elaborate on that. And that's where Finn would have become one of the more prominent characters in the story, because that is his history, that is his lineage when it comes to the Star Wars universe. Instead, we got shorthand. But we're on another Endor planet in the Endor system. The Death Star is looming in the water, and then they say they can't go, and you see again that scuttlebutt between Poe and Rey, where it's like she wants to go now, he's like, we can't, we got to fix the Falcon. She goes and does this, he goes and does that. Both are successful in what they're trying to do, but at the same time, it's like one of them doesn't see the other way's, perspective and what is important in the moment. And she says it's important. She's got to get there. However, my whole thing is like, why did the Sith loyalists create a dagger? And it also ties back to One-Eyed Willie. Why did One-Eyed Willie make the thing that you can hold up to tell you where his treasure was? If he was trapped, if he was trapped in there, yeah.
Convenience for the sake of convenience
is still convenience. Yes, CinemaSins. But when it comes down to that, yes, I'm like, so they etched out this dagger to fit the wreckage, to point to where it is.
Why didn't they just take the Wayfinder?
Why wouldn't you take the Wayfinder?
There it is. Fits right there. And it's like,
we'll come back, but make sure we make this elaborate thing to remember
like, I got to etch it where it is. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And it's like, well, what happens if anyways,
there's a lot of holes in it. Absolutely. But the only thing that I could say to that is Star Wars is a very quest-driven type universe.
Yeah.
So you're leaving things up because I want you to, if you are dark enough, you will be able to hunt down this, that, and be able to find the Emperor. If that's the case, like somebody did it to find this world, which makes sense if that's the case. My whole beef is like, if it's there's only 2 in the entire galaxy. One of them was very easily captured by Kylo Ren in the first 5 minutes of the movie with some people we know nothing about, just wipe them all out. And then the other one is inside the Death Star 2, which, yes, the Emperor showed up and he had luggage when he showed up in Return of the Jedi. So, of course, maybe it's very important to him and he brought it there with him because they need to know how to get to that planet at any point in time if they have to. So it makes, I buy that it would be there. Why it exists, I can only say it's more of a fantastical quest-loving universe. People like to make adventures for you.
Why did they make 2? Like, why did the Emperor have 2?
In case you lose one. They are smart.
Why are there 2 Air Force Ones? Just in case.
Just in case, I guess. Yeah, so so in case one gets lost, the other one can find it. Or because, the history, or at least when it comes to
the rule of 2.
Yeah. All right, you finished it. There's the answer. I was gonna try and break it down improv like, but no, that makes sense. It's a rule of 2. Easy answer.
Yeah.
But yeah,
just like this movie.
You get a little of that touchback when it comes to Rey being a scavenger, climbing up the Star Destroyers. Like, it's cool. It fits her character to be there.
Right. Yeah. At first, too, when she goes and she's going through the thing and she's climbing up and stuff, I'm like, yeah, she can do that. She's a scavenger. She's been doing that on Star Destroyers forever. So.
Yeah. My only beef, though, is that it just, to me, it doesn't fit in terms of what I remember being in Return of the Jedi, because the Emperor's throne room sits atop a tower, and the tower has 4 quadrants on each end with windows, and that's where the Emperor hangs out. And when they first showed it, I was like, oh dang, I think it's focusing on the fallen tower. But then you get in there, it's like, oh, these are hallways and all sorts of stuff, and there's an elevator that should lead to that room.
Where's the catwalk that was cut down?
Yeah, see, so I'm starting. I overanalyze shit. Shit.
Right, to the point too, and it's like the thing blew up, so
of course.
Like everything is in pieces.
Of course, and I love that it's in pieces, and it makes sense that it ended up somewhere else. So I get it. But as a Star Wars devout fan of Return of the Jedi, which I analyze, I studied every move. It broke my heart. Camera tricks, trick photography. I was crushed when it came to not being what I remember. I do love that they ended up having the Darth Vader death music, but they cut it up and mixed it out of order. So from somebody, again, who's memorized the Darth Vader death music, as well as everything in Battle of Endor Part 1, 2, and 3, it has, for Return of the Jedi, for that matter, it ends up, playing with my emotions. I'm like, wait, do a variation of it. Do something that's a little different, and by all means, I'll probably love it. But when it's cut, mix and match, it didn't hold true to me once again when it came to the musical scene. It was cool, it was reminiscent, it was on the nose, but I get it. It's the scene, let's take it back. we end up getting a reminiscent of what happened with the tree on Dagobah with Luke, and it's because it's a very dark energy, and what's around that Wayfinder is more than likely an incredibly dark side energy.
Yeah.
So when she goes in there, and she ends up getting the vision and fighting with herself, like I feel like I could feel it emanating off the Wayfinder, and that is why she ended up getting in that whole skirmish with herself. We knew it was probably going to be a skirmish of some kind with herself in a vision or a dream, versus, actual character or her sliding to the dark side. So it was kind of like a little, here you go, D23. Just kidding, it's just a little vision. But either way, we ate it up. We loved it. It was visually cool.
Yeah.
Except the whole thing, we saw, and she got like the like a love cat jumping at you.
Yeah.
But Ren ends up getting his hands on the Wayfinder.
Yeah. And then destroys it. So it's like, okay, cool. You
That whole mission was
destroyed
for
it.
nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, essentially. But at the same time, it did bring it to, like, where they kind of have another cool fight between the two of them, and I like it. But I also like that she still kind of doesn't know how to maneuver the lightsaber, and she's kind of just like, brah, 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 brah.
Oh my god, I just realized something. No wonder she fights with the freaking Palpatine style. Like, I just realized that.
Yeah, well,
she does the jab. She's a jabber when it came to the way Palpatine fought.
Okay.
And she always fought that way. So yeah, she's a Palpatine fighter.
But that's us trying to, like, put it together. It's probably just coincidence.
But at the same time, it's like, wait, so sword fighting skills and styles is something that transfers through lineage?
Right.
Come on. But unless she was trained by the son who was trained by the father, more of a story I need, by the way.
I really liked how the lightsaber battles took place in this movie.
Yeah.
They were not over the top like the prequels were, where everyone was just crazy and massive at the tip fit. It was a lot more like the original trilogy, where it was slower moving. Everyone had a purpose because, I mean, who uses lightsabers at this point anymore? She clearly isn't an expert, and Kylo Ren is probably the best one in the universe at this point with it.
Absolutely.
So I love the fact that it was a slow-moving battle. It was usually two-handed, and it was just all over the place.
Yeah.
I thought the lightsaber battles were awesome.
Cool moment in that lightsaber battle. They're swinging at each other and they're blocking the lightsaber. And at one point she swings. She swings at him. It comes at his hand and he pushes it, holds it, and you see the energy of the lightsaber blowing in a direction off the lightsaber, coming off it with a drag, and it's like if you took a fan up to like a microphone, and it's like the whoa, 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 and you can hear it, and it's a really awesome detail during that fight that you end up seeing with the lightsabers.
And you also see the point too, like when it, like the power of that, the energy coming off when he holds it, like you can, or like you can see her, like, I don't remember where it was, but she goes like this. Her hand.
Burn her hand was hot.
Yeah, more than likely it was the energy getting pushed back at her, it's and that kind of leads into her lightsaber usage later in the movie. That's why the energy is so powerful enough to take her down, is because a lot of energy into your lightsaber does kind of reflect onto you. That even happens in Jedi Fallen Order. You can only do it for a certain amount of time before it ends up starting to hurt you each time you try and do it. So for that, I respect it. It definitely is a nice little detail to the battle, and we do get more of a battle with them.
So yes, then once the battle is happening and stuff, and this is actually kind of where the story for me starts to decline, and I get a lot of eye rolls from me when the story starts to go a little bit further. I'm just like, like it felt like two different movies were happening during this time. I like the first half, which is funny because some people are like, oh, it slowed down at the beginning and then it speeds up. For me, I like the first half, and then as soon as we start to get to the part of the third act here coming forward, it starts to slow down, especially when you get her killing him and then healing him and then him having a revelation and then becoming good.
Yeah.
What?
Definitely.
That.
If you boil it down to simplistic explanation, that's how it appealed to us. Great moments within, but the overall aspects of what took place, we do not buy.
Right, and I get it. I get like where it also brought a little bit of like that final moment with Leia, to her trying to reach out to him and using all of her power to reach out to him to do that. And it's like, well, why didn't she try to reach out to him in the last movie? Why didn't she try to reach it?
Before
like
she
why
kills
didn't she
Han?
try to reach him in Force Awakens?
Right.
Like this is her final chance to like reach out to him, and then all of a sudden she's like gone. And I get that, and that was a very powerful moment for her part, and
Sure.
then like that brought me to tears. But
Absolutely.
it was more so because Carrie Fisher is gone too, like in the real world.
So there is no Princess Leia.
So there is no Princess Leia anymore at all. So that's what really hit me, is because Carrie Fisher is also gone.
Sure.
But
I love that it was a distraction for him because his mother can still distract him. His mother still takes his thoughts in terms of his concentration. He's constantly losing his concentration when it comes to what he did to his father and what is with his mother. He's still kind of broken. We thought the broken was gone. I thought the broken was gone, and we ended up. Not. Like, the broken got reassembled, like his helmet, which was unnecessary.
Yeah.
His helmet was there for a bit, then his helmet is gone, and it doesn't matter. We didn't need the helmet back. We didn't need to have re-put back together Ben Skywalker, because we had Kylo Ren. And because of that, I didn't fit well, or didn't mesh well with, the right Reylo, because for me, I get it.
I get it too.
I get it. It's a way the story can go. I get it. You went that way. Cool. It's like you put your money in on something and somebody won the bet and you didn't win the bet. And it's like the Reylo fans are loving it because this is what they wanted. They wanted the love. They wanted the love between them. Granted, it was shorthand love as well because it comes out of nowhere. And then I know a lot of people will say, well, it didn't necessarily come out of nowhere. There are moments in the other movies. It's like, yes, there are some intimate moments, but it was more so they have a connection in the Force. It wasn't like,
It was even
we're
said
gonna
that
kiss.
that Force connection hasn't been seen in eons and centuries.
Right.
Palpatine says that.
Absolutely. So I don't understand why it ended up being, thrust on us in this third movie when I would have accepted it more if it was more connected, that there was this love between them and not just this connection.
See, for me, I did not like the way that he turned back to
There
being
really
like
isn't
good,
one.
because there wasn't one turn. He wanted to destroy Palpatine. He wanted to be the one that was the most powerful, and then all of a sudden he wanted to show Rey, come to the dark side with me, take my hand, and then all of a sudden he has this part in The Last Jedi when he showed hesitance of her blasting her and then somebody else blast her, like it didn't, like
It was
didn't
towards his mother.
Right, but he didn't it didn't faze him. Like he was like, okay, well now I have to go and do something else.
They did it for him.
I
Like he
think
didn't have to make the hard choice.
Slightly disagree. I've always felt his character has had that conflict. Despite killing his father, he still has that conflict of both sides of being the dark or that. And I think he's talked himself into how great his grandfather was, so he's gonna be like Darth Vader. He's gonna be the dark side.
Right,
and
but
I think he needed Rey to help him overcome and take that final step that he was still hesitant about.
Yeah, but the whole thing in The Last Jedi too, where he wanted to kill Luke, like he was there ready to pounce on him.
And
like
he killed Luke, essentially. He just didn't know it was a hologram.
Because he was angry. I mean...
But that's the thing, is I felt like the only conflict that was left for Kylo Ren, and it was, very beautifully just imagery done when he killed Han Solo in the slide over to the darkness, when the sun ends up getting consumed. And that's the thing I have to do. And that whole conversation does come back in this movie. And I do love that we get the reflipical of what it was before, the alternate universe of that first situation and how it should have went. But at the same time, and that's coming in with our own biasness, is I figured that, okay, it's the dad, it's the mom, he's cleaned the slate. He doesn't have that sort of hesitance anymore. And that's why when the hesitance came back again, when it came to her, it's like, absolutely with her, I feel like he wanted to reign supreme next to her because he needed the help to take down the Emperor as well. He knew he couldn't do it by himself because it's the Emperor, and at the same time, he sees the balance, and the two of them balance like it's coming together. They can just reign supreme in the galaxy. Doesn't need these old men telling him what to do. He doesn't need these bratty kids, barking orders at him. He wants to reign supreme with his exact opposite in terms of the light and the dark, the balance, the Palpatine, the Skywalker. Like, it's a perfect match, but at the same time, it's like, love me, and it just ends up becoming, that next step that I just didn't feel like it needed to go. they didn't need to go that way. They could reign supreme together and not be kissy-kissy. Beautiful moment, too, when he's talking to his dad, because for me, I was one of those people that kind of left unfulfilled from the kill of Han Solo. I felt like Han Solo should have been around a little bit longer, then kill him. That would have ripped our hearts out, and that would have made him more of a formidable foe later because, oh, damn, you took him away from us. But they ended up doing the bookend with the story, which makes sense because JJ did the one and the one. So they very much connect together. And it's that conversation with Han Solo on the outside of the Death Star. And I love it because you see it go the other way.
Same conversation, yeah. It just really went there and he did it. I was surprised. I didn't expect Harrison Ford, and it was a great cameo. And very rarely do movies get that where you're going like, "Oh shit, it's him."
Yeah, I love that you hear his voice first before you see him.
I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of spacing out at this moment in the movie.
Yeah,
I wasn't paying attention, and I was like looking around, looking for like M&M's to eat, and then all of a sudden I hear a voice, and I'm like,
yeah.
Harrison Ford?
My second watch, well, albeit like we're energetic about the things we're talking about in the movie, but albeit there were multiple times watching the second time where I phased out and stopped paying attention and realized like the chair's uncomfortable and what am I going to do after? Okay,
Yeah.
we're back in the movie. And it's just like, I definitely, I don't like to feel that way, especially if it's like only the second time I'm seeing something. But either way, that's how it landed. But the certain moments were beautiful were there, especially when he tells him he has to do it, he throws his lightsaber into the water, and then he says, "Dad," and he's gonna tell him, "I love you," and in pure Star Wars Han Solo fashion, in a clever way, all Han Solo says is, "I know," before he has to say it. Different context, different delivery, different meaning, pure Han Solo. And I was like, damn, like that is a great moment. It's a great connection with Ben. It helps alleviate the Ben Skywalker turn.
Yeah.
Like it does, but I still, like, that's the problem we got here. Damn it. The delivery just isn't there. Like, you just didn't get me there, but now I have to get over it and go with where we went. And that's how the whole movie is. You
just go with it.
Just go with it. You have to go with it. If you go with it, you're going to love it. You're going to enjoy it. You ask too many questions, Mr. Wayne, you're going to end up breaking things down to the point where you're angry or unfulfilled, like us when it comes to many things. Or you don't care. Or you don't care about certain characters and the way things end up. But either way, we end up getting that great moment with Han Solo and Ben Skywalker. Finn is constantly just trying to get Rey back over to where he is. And then she takes the ship and leaves, because guess what? Wayfinder number 2, rule of 2. And then you see the Millennium Falcon. I love that he shows up like right at the same time. He's like, I achieved my goal too, which was fixing the Falcon to come back and take him, and they're gonna figure out where the hell she's
the next
off to.
step, next level.
And she runs away. So then we get a little bit of look at what the Emperor's bringing to the party when it comes to the armada he's created for the Last Order. I love how he kind of dubs General Pride as the new leader as to what's going on. And it's the hologram, and he's kneeling in front of it. Like, that felt Star Warsy. That felt Empire. That felt good. General Pride is awesome.
Very fan service, though. I felt like it was a lot of like, oh, you're showing this. Yeah, okay, we get it. You know?
But, see, I was on board until we saw what their weapon was, which is essentially a doomsday device built into every single Star Destroyer.
Yeah.
And then they're going to go blow up the planet that Carrie Russell's on, but we know she's going to come back later.
It makes sense to have that weapon there. I mean, the whole universe of Star Wars, they're talking about the Death Star and the planet killers. Yeah. It makes sense that the most powerful weapon would be recycled somehow.
Sure.
And the fact that if you can put it more portable and easier to move around, it has been 40 years since the freaking Death Star has been built.
Because somehow out there in
they had
the
Star Killer base.
Yeah, but then somehow out there in the far reaches of space, the Emperor was capable of conjuring up multiple endless amounts of kyber crystals to create a doomsday device to put on the bottom of Star.
There's a lot there. If we go down that road, then you got all. Where did you get all the men to do all this too? Where did
all the people that were in the auditorium? Like they were, it's a
like,
massive
all these
amount
folks
of
come
crazy
from?
Sith cult people, which I wish we could have seen. That would have been cool. But no, they're just faceless hooded characters that are like, we do the bidding, we fix the ships. But yeah, you end up getting that whole doomsday thing again. You think Zora Bliss is gone, and the crew is back at the camp to figure out what their next game is. They don't know what happened to Rey. Rey took off somewhere. Yeah. And you end up getting the whole Leia is past and they don't know about it. Heartbreaking moment with Chewie when Chewie ended up finding out. That was a real moment. That brought a tear to my eye.
It was very sad.
Yeah.
I mean, it was. I think it was perfectly timed. But then I also thought he didn't really act that way when Han died.
Well, that's them trying to correct. Like, he was pissed when Han died.
Yeah.
Well,
He
he
was
was
pissed at
there
Ben.
when Han died, though,
That's
too,
true.
because he was like, ah!
Yeah, no,
like
he
he was
lost
pissed.
it.
He saw it. He lost it there. But at the same time, this too, where he's coming back, and all of a sudden Leia's gone. Like, he didn't get to say goodbye, so
Yeah.
he's just like,
Yeah.
you know?
It was more so the crumble sadness.
Like
Really, I mean,
another
he is
person
kind
that he
of the-
loves is gone.
He's the last of the old guard almost.
Yeah, it makes sense. And
Yeah, it's him and Lando now.
yeah, I loved his his reaction to the situation. I do like that Poe gets a little conversation, at least with the remains of Princess Leia, and he ends up getting a pep talk from Lando. Lando's there to say goodbye to the princess.
One thing I did like with Leia passing away is R2D2.
Yeah,
When he's at the foot of her bed and just how he does his...
yeah, it was a good moment. It was a good moment. Everything they did with Leia in this entire movie, I thought was good. I
Yeah,
just wish
I
they
did.
utilized
Opinion.
whatever happened with Ben and his transformation.
Yeah.
I wish she either would have. The distraction was cool, but if they had sprinkled a little bit of what was going to come throughout the movies to lead us to that point where it was more believable and digestible, then I
Instead of
guess it
just
would have been
throwing it
fine.
in there.
But everything with Leia was fantastic. I do love how now we've got Finn and Poe as generals, and they do that little moment
General?
where it's like general, and it
Doctor?
reminded me of like Lethal Weapon 4, like Captain. But that's cool. Like, they're in charge now, and they're trying to figure out what the next step is, because guess what? They don't have Rey. The Wayfinder's gone. The mission basically failed, but they have no clue what happened to Rey. But at the same time, we get to see where Rey went. Rey ended up going back to Octo, and she's there, and it's just she's given up. She's given up the way Luke gave up, and I don't think she's given up. It could be, if you get into the whole reason why Luke was there, even though he says here that it was because he was afraid, but really it would have been better if it was because he was trying to rebalance the Force by
Way
taking
more
himself
sense.
out of the equation, where, like, I felt like if that was what she's doing, she's trying to take herself out of the equation, but if she leaves, the Emperor's going to come anyways and kill everybody, so it's like, what are you doing? You're running away? Like, no, yeah,
I
no,
think
she was
thought-
running away.
I think-
What is she doing?
I think she thought if she got herself away from the situation, secluded herself on an island she can't get off, then she can't become the Sith Lord that she thinks she's going to become.
Makes
But
sense.
she's-
That's at the end of her road, in her opinion.
Yeah.
So I completely get it. But you end up getting that moment. You know she's going to throw the lightsaber. You know who's going to catch it.
Yeah.
You know who's going to come out. The delivery wasn't really there for me, just partly because I knew Luke was going to crap on The Last Jedi when it came to the throwing, or at least in terms of like giving us an opposite of what he said before.
Yeah.
But I get it. His character is technically an opposite of where he was then, but it was a little too on the nose, too much of a mirror of each other.
Right, and then you also get the fan surface of him bringing up his fighter. His
Yeah, yeah.
TIE fighter. His
X-Wing.
X-Wing, there we go.
I did enjoy that. I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then I thought it would probably smell like shit inside that cockpit.
Yeah,
Very moldy.
Then yes, it's a great moment because of the essentially the chance to redeem himself from the
Right.
Dagobah X-wing lift. It's the same music, exact same music.
Same sort of conversation
Yeah.
Obi-Wan had with Luke is he's kind of having with Rey now.
Right, exactly. So it makes absolute sense. Talking about the legacy, they're all in her now. And it's a pep talk. She needed a pep talk. Poe needed a pep talk. Finn, they're like, we're not giving you a pep talk. You're going to go talk over to Naomi Aki and find out about the Stormtrooper
Yeah.
deal, which is pretty exciting. Again, should have elaborated
Right, and then
more
they
on
also
that.
have like the part where you realize that Leia also had training.
Yeah,
Leia
flashback.
had her lightsaber.
Which totally makes sense.
Yep.
She walked away from it, and it makes sense for Leia too, because
Right.
you know we always knew that she was like Force sensitive and stuff, but she walked away from it because it wasn't her thing, and
Yeah.
then we say it because of Ben and her feeling for it. So I get it, and I love that they have that lightsaber too, and it comes in handy or later on in the
Yeah.
movie too.
Yeah,
So.
her whole reason walking away didn't work out in the end, though. It actually made it worse.
Yeah.
But yeah, you do end up getting that lightsaber. But again, we don't get an explanation as to how Luke's lightsaber is back together. Again, we'll fill in the gaps
Yeah.
ourselves. They rebuilt it.
Yeah.
We'll just go from there.
Just go with it.
Yeah, just go with it.
Like it's funny that they use that lightsaber and not, the green lightsaber.
Pisses me off. Where the hell is this Viridian lightsaber?
Like, why are they using, essentially, that's Anakin's lightsaber.
Yeah, it's Anakin's lightsaber.
It's not Luke's lightsaber.
And when they said your brother's lightsaber, it's like, it was his brother's, but he has his own lightsaber. It's more of like Anakin's lightsaber, and that could be the lineage of the Skywalker lightsaber.
Right.
But yeah, I mean,
so I get it where it's the Skywalker's lightsaber. It's
Right.
not necessarily Anakin's or Luke's. It's like the Skywalker's.
And they should have said that, like, to take the Skywalker lightsaber, but instead of your brothers, because it's always Luke's is always the green one. It's always the Return of the Jedi to me. I love that lightsaber. Yeah. It's my favorite lightsaber out of all the lightsabers. But he ends up saying, take the two and you have all you need. And I love that. It's kind of like with the books. And so that's what she finds lightsaber? Out. Yeah, I don't know. It's still there. It's still there. Or he threw it away. But I mean, he can't throw it away because he had it on the island. So it's on the island. It's there. Take the 3 lightsabers. All 3 of you. Everyone gets a lightsaber. It's there on the island.
You get a lightsaber. Here's all these kyber crystals. You get a lightsaber.
And I do love that she flies away in Red 5. And she's wearing the helmet.
I love that too. And we were talking about that too, how she's wearing the helmet and it brings it back to The Force Awakens when she's sitting there and she's wearing the helmet. She's just looking around.
It's a good shot. I love that was kind of brought back and we get to see her in actuality wearing the helmet, flying off. She's got the actual wayfinder. She's going to go find out where the Emperor is, which is no problem at all. She just flies through a couple things and she gets there. And the freaking Resistance gets a call from Master Skywalker's lightsaber because now C-3PO's got his memory back from R2-D2.
TIE Fighter. X-Wing.
X-Wing fighter. What did I say? TIE Fighter?
You said Luke Sky's lightsaber gets a call from
You did. I was like, wait. Hold on. Did I miss that part?
Lightsaber, I'm like, not lightsaber, X-Wing.
It's a burnt out weekend, I'll tell you that much. But when it comes down to getting that signal, we know how to fly there. She's showing us through the nav port, and we're going to be able to get everybody together. Let's get the final fight together and...
But going back a little bit, because they use D.O. to find out where it is, and so they kind of know where it is already. They're just like, oh, there's all of these. There's like lightning strikes. There's lightning like happening, but they don't know exactly how to get there.
Yeah, it's like Kong Skull Island.
Right.
And you end up getting everyone there just fine. There's no problems. I would have loved to see a couple ships go down trying to get there. Make it a little bit more perilous to get to the Sith world.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, so we've got Lando there, and he's got Chewie, and I do like how they're like, Chewie, we need you, and he's like, yep, and he gets up and he goes. Chewie's got no problem getting back into the fight, and we get Chewie and Lando going off to go and assemble the troops. Yeah, assemble the troops, and then everybody else goes to the final battle at the Sith homeworld of Exegol.
Boosh.
And I do love how Charlie from Lost, Dominic Monaghan, ends up like bringing up, can't we just do some hold-on maneuvers? And they're like, yeah, no, that's 1 in a billion chance. Like, it's like, well, so now you can't do those very easily that happened in the last one? All right, that's you kind of taking a little bit of a jab again at The Last Jedi. Even though I think we do see it in the end when Wicket is on screen, like in the background. But anyways, you end up getting these, we're going to have to take them up. We're going to have to do the land team. We're going to have to take out this tower and all that, because they can't escape with the tower down. And it's funny because like the whole time they get in there and there's just a barrage of fire, you only end up seeing like 3 of the Resistance pilots at any really given time throughout the battle. Sure, we get Wedge thrown in there, and you get Lando, and you get, you get Chewie. But at the same time, it's like I wanted to feel like the team was there. I wanted some of the ones from The Force Awakens, but no damage, because I don't think he went down.
No, he went down.
One. Did he go? I missed him. We did get Neenum, but not enough Neenum. Like, Neenum should have been a part of it.
We do see, okay, well, we'll get to that in a moment.
But the battle ends up commencing, and then, yes, the final order ends up getting their, their ping pong on when it comes to, oh, we're just going to trade it from this one to this one. And for me, I'm like, well, when the land crew lands there, why not just like send it away? When they land over here, just send it back.
Logic.
Yeah, why not just keep it away from them? And then they have to assemble 2 ground crews. And guess what? They don't have the resources to pull it off. So again, I'm like, oh, come on, guys. Like, you're smarter than this. But either way, Rey is on her way to face the Emperor. And then a whole lot of information, of course.
To face the Emperor, her grandfather. I had the biggest eye roll of my life. why? And then again, it's so cringy. Like every time they talk about the fact that she is the granddaughter to Palpatine, I'm like, it doesn't make sense. Why? Like it was so cringy for me.
Yeah.
Like that was the biggest thing about this movie that I did not like, was the fact that they said, "Yeah, you are my granddaughter." Like when we first heard it, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, you're Palpatine?
Right.
Okay." Like how? And then they said, "Oh, he's your grandfather." I'm like, I would prefer like if she was like a clone or like something
Right.
from him. I would have been fine with that.
For me, it doesn't make sense because he talks about how it was his son's daughter.
Right.
But then you're like, well, what happened to your son? And who did he marry? And why wasn't he part of this lineage? Why didn't you want any of this? Like, what the hell was their story? Why did he not want you around? Like,
Right, and it was another jab to The Last Jedi too, where they're like, yeah, they were nobody because they chose to be, and it's like,
Yeah, no,
What?
it's a cop out when it comes to
Yeah.
trying to keep the story consistent.
like I was okay
I mean-
with her parents being nobodies.
Of
Like,
course.
yeah, cool, I'm fine with that. Like, move on. But then he went around and
Yeah.
was like, because they chose to be.
Because.
Like, okay.
from a certain
Just
point
go
of
with
view.
it.
But at
Yeah.
the same time, you do end up having, that balance aspect of it with a Palpatine and with a Skywalker, and I get it. You're playing that up, so it makes sense. Throwing in the whole her fighting style and how she's powerful, so I get it. The only reason why I feel like it was done incorrectly and it could have been remedied was if we had those sprinkles of that kind of hint coming along from the get-go in all three movies, just like the Emperor should have been implemented at the very end of The Last Jedi. Didn't
Right.
need to see him, just hear him in Kylo's head, and it ended up, making us go crazy because, oh damn, he wasn't the one controlling it from
Yeah.
the get-go. Like, having the family was nobody, and then them trying to figure out what is happening. You could have had that reveal earlier, and then it gets even crazier when you get to the final act for it. So I feel like, they just didn't do it in a way that just seemed more organic and cohesive versus just, it is because it is, and here it is.
Right, and I didn't like that at all.
Right.
I'm just like, oh, sure, no, like, why?
And when Kylo ended up telling her to look at it and see your past and everything that's going on, that's all the time we had from Kylo to the Emperor to marinate on the whole thing, and then it was over with. So we should have had that happen somewhere else in the story in a couple of the movies to make it feel organically,
You're
meshed
building
well.
up to something good.
But the Emperor, again, you get to see more of him. He's attached to that machine that's basically keeping him alive. He doesn't really look like the Emperor, which makes me believe that he's possibly a clone. They engineered Snoke. They engineered Palpatine. He's blind and all messed up, but at the same time, it's because, look at Snoke. He was messed up. They don't have the science down very well. I mean, they're living out in the outer rim.
They're not Camino.
Yeah, they're out far.
Caminoids.
Yeah, Caminoians are definitely far more advanced, tech savvy, and financed when it comes to creating clones. So here it's just a hodgepodge of clone that they can put together. So for me, I feel like, yeah, the Emperor did die. Maybe these guys
Right.
were the clone makers of him. He had a contingency.
Like you said,
and his spirit moved into
the
him.
rule of twos.
Yeah.
Right, and the fact, like, they don't have, like, a perfect, part of the Emperor because he did, so essentially, like, he's gone, blown up, so they don't really have a perfect copy for them to copy.
Sure.
So.
But again,
It's like multiplicity.
that's us having to justify what we're
Right,
watching.
exactly.
That's all you can do.
That's why I don't like it, is because we are trying to justify it on ourselves, where they should have given us that justification in the movie. And I know that they're probably going to do it in the books, but again, it's like, okay, that's the books. Not everyone's going to read the books. Not everyone's going to go in depth with that sort of thing. So you're just kind of hoping people will go with
Yeah.
it. Again, go with it.
And you do get that, resemblance of the throne room scene from Return of the Jedi when it has, him opening up the
she's
top
watching.
and you can see the battles going on. I do like that there is no glimmer of hope, even though we know all the ships are coming because it's in all the trailers.
Right.
So we know they're coming. That last glimmer of hope is fading fastly. And of course, you get Snap Wexley going out, which to me, that was the only connection that I had in all the battles was Snap Wexley going, because Snap Wexley is a big part of the extended universe, the Wexley family, when it comes to Aftermath. So for me, I have a connection to Wexley when he goes down, and it sucks because they're overrun. There's nothing you can do. And in the trailer, when I saw Poe going, ah! from the X-Wing, I was like, oh, that Snap Wexley died. Because he's the only
So
one that they
obvious.
give any character to as another pilot, and that's unfortunate. There should be
Right.
multiple characters. We know Hobby, we know Wedge, we know Biggs, we know these characters that were there the whole time, and some of them are only there for one time, but damn it, we know their names. And when it comes to this one, I just didn't feel that connection because there was none of that. You give us Wedge in a nice cameo, but at the same time, when Wedge ends up showing up, it's just great flying, Lando, and that's it. Like, it's gone. And for me, it's like, no, interweave.
Yeah.
Where's the interweaving? Where's the intricacy that we felt from Return
Right.
of the Jedi?
Where we're seeing the battles happening everywhere,
Sure.
where it was cutting and you just were in it.
And again, they
Yeah.
can't repeat it. They can't do it. You can't make it like the Return
No.
of
Right,
the
because
Jedi.
then it's very much Return of the Jedi,
Right,
and you're
right.
just sitting there like, oh, I've seen this before.
But
so
my
you
heart
get
would have
it.
been in it if my heart was with any of the characters that were there.
Yeah.
I'm there for Poe. I don't
Yeah.
think Poe's dying.
Right.
Like, I didn't feel like any of the main characters could perish at any point in this movie
Right.
besides Kylo Ren. And I was waiting for him to come down at the end. He would sacrifice himself to kind of save Rey. That was going to be his final redemption. But no, we get the Ben Solo going with Rey to battle out the Emperor. And it's cool because we end up seeing a little bit of that back and forth with the lightsaber. But that's the only time we get the Knights of Ren doing anything.
Yeah,
And it's not much.
only time.
So disappointing.
Yeah.
You build them up that these guys are the best of the best, the badasses,
Yeah.
his men, and then they come and he's like, we're just gonna fist fight a little bit,
Yeah.
and oh, you got a lightsaber, now you kill us all.
Yeah, I hated the music too that they played during Ben Solo taking out the Knights of Ren. There's a portion of it that sounds like it's straight out of The Terminal Man or Catch Me If You Can. Like, it's his bubbly John Williams music. I was like, no, this does not belong here. Then it would switch back to Rey and it's back to Rey's theme. And I'm like, oh, hell yeah, that was good. But when you get the skirmish with Rey fighting the temple guards, or at least when it comes to the throne room guards,
Yeah.
the royal guards, they're basically like 4 or 5 phasmas that are red. They're all
Yeah.
red and they're phasma because they got the capes with them
Yeah.
too.
Right.
Again, you don't even get to see up close shots. She just
Yeah,
kind of
just
takes them
boop,
out.
boop,
Yeah,
boop, boop.
I do love that she's
Very
grabbing bolts and throwing them at each other. Like, she's capturing bolts and throwing them to the next troopers. So that was really cool. Happened so quick. These quick cuts, you can't really.
And then going
piece it
back and
together.
forth to where, with Kylo,
Yeah.
Ben using the blue lightsaber now and
Yeah.
like fighting and doing like, and then coming back like that's probably part of his training that
Right.
he's done before.
But I love it.
then-
Yeah, but I love it. I love that he's using the blue lights. I love that we get to see him in
that
his
he was
form.
using the see the good side of him
Sure.
using it, but
That we
at the
get to
same-
see it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it
And then
makes
of course him and finally them coming together, and then it was a cool moment when they both the blue lightsabers vroom.
It was a good picture shot when they're both
Right.
standing ready to go.
Right.
And then you're, yeah, all right, finally.
Suck the wind out of your
Just
sails,
kidding.
because guess what? The Emperor is super powerful.
Oh.
So they go for it and nothing. They just, nah, they get pulled. I do love that Force Drain was finally used in the Star
Yeah.
Wars universe in terms of the cinematic, because Force Drain is so badass, and him realizing Force Drain and being able to take their life force because the two of them together is so powerful and so fruitful to his regeneration. Good.
Very
And
much
I-
hocus pocus.
Yeah,
Exactly. I just wanted him to go.
And he's
Suck
pulling
him
the
up,
power,
yeah.
and then he's like me, a Skywalker will fall, and he ends up throwing him down a hole. And Kylo, you're gone for the rest of the movie until we need you.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like, oh, god damn it. But we get the whole thing with what he wants to do. He wants to transfer himself into her, his spirit, and all the Sith, everything, metaphorically or
don't
actuality.
know.
Like, he wants to move into her space, and she ain't ready to give it up. But then again, for some reason, she is ready to give it up. She says okay.
Well,
but-
because she's in that same predicament Luke was. If I
Right.
sacrifice myself now, everyone out there is going to be okay.
Sure.
And survive.
Right.
I can then control what goes on.
Yeah, I get it. And at the same time, though, I don't get it because
Yeah.
it
Feels like a cop out.
the two of them needed to have a battle to figure him out.
They did.
Beat him, win.
I kind
I
of
will
wanted that whole, like, Ghostbusters 2, you know?
Yeah.
There is no more Rey. And Kylo Ren and a Rey go at it. That would have been...
awesome.
That would've been cool.
awesome. But
then-
that's deep-seated expanded universe stuff.
Right.
I don't know if you kids are ready for that yet.
But like we do get a cool moment with the Emperor
Yeah.
where he goes and like they're all gonna fall and he uses like all of his energy, boom,
Badass.
and he like shots up. Like it was cool
Badass.
seeing him
Pretty
use
cool.
it and stuff. stuff,
I
and
did
it's
kinda
like, oh wow, that's awesome. But at the same time, it's like, why doesn't he use that on her?
That's the
Like, why doesn't
problem.
he use that full effect
That's
of
when
that
things
power
aren't-
to her?
that's when things just
he
don't
like
work
uses
well.
that half
like,
mass
oh,
basically
lightsaber.
to her.
And it's like he doesn't. I
Lightsaber.
guess he doesn't need her anymore because he does regenerate himself, which is even better.
Yeah,
But it's-
because then you see him; he's able to walk
You
on
see
his
his-
own.
you see his eye,
His
his
eyes come
regenerate.
yeah, he
back.
comes back to being
Yeah.
the emperor. But at the same time, I feel like he had the ability to drain her constantly,
Yeah.
over and
Why
over
didn't
and
you
over,
turn-
like a vampire.
As soon as he like did that, like they fall,
Yeah.
and she's just kind of chilling, sitting there waiting, like
Why would you
laying
try and kill
down,
her?
and like he does the thing, and she's just like, yeah, like why aren't you draining her more?
Yeah.
I love the moment when, like, going back to when she's training and she's like floating, when she's like, be with me, be with me. Then you get that moment when she like falls back and she's like, be with me, be with me. And then you hear all of the Jedi
Jedis that-
talking to her, you know, like, rise, right? These are your final steps. I love the part with Anakin, though, when he's like, bring balance to the Force like I did, you know, being that person. And then you hear Kanan, you hear Ahsoka, you could hear Mace Windu, Yoda, of course, Anakin, Obi-Wan. You hear both Obi-Wans. You hear young Obi-Wan, and then you hear old Obi-Wan as
I didn't
well.
know Olivia Diabo was a part of the Star Wars universe. I love Olivia Diabo. She was Kevin Arnold's sister in Wonder Years. And she was the coach in the Big Green. She was in Conan, but yeah, she's one of the Jedi's because her name popped up in the credits. But yeah, getting that love of Rebels, getting that love of Clone Wars, very much appreciated and a part of this story. I loved how the way she's looking up at the electricity and she looks past it into the stars. That felt Rebels to me. That felt very
That
Rebels.
was a nice shot. I did like that.
And I thought the stars were going to start twinkling. Like, I thought things were going to start happening when they were saying it.
Going
but
in
it
the
was,
shape of
Mufasa. Remember who you are. No, I thought they were going to twinkle, like it was coming from different places in the universe. But no, it was just her looking up. And yeah, the rise, all of us in you, essentially. The fate of the Jedi resides in Palpatine, which is kind of cool. It's kind of cool. Wish they got there better.
He gets all the Sith and she has all the Jedi.
Yeah, it's kind of a cool thing. I just wish we had a little bit more of this to marinate on in terms of
Sprinkle it out instead of just going blah.
Yeah, it's very easy. Like he did, it was the same way. But again, like she ends up getting up and he's going to destroy her. And I don't understand why he would destroy her in the first place. Because for me, I feel like just hang on to her, like drain her a little bit more. But you end up pulling out one lightsaber and she's holding him back as he's trying to do the whole thing. And it's like, Palpatine, didn't you learn? Don't you know where this is going to go? This happened to you once before and Mace Windu burned your shit and now you don't need to take this. And you end up getting her and she's pushing forward. And yeah, connected to her feeling the energy earlier in the movie.
Yeah.
And like I could totally feel it. I could feel it as she's holding it back. Very Harry Potter as well. But then when she's going to pull the other lightsaber, I'm like, oh damn, she's going to chuck it. She's going to chuck the lightsaber. Yeah, I don't think we saw a lightsaber throw in this movie whatsoever.
We did at the very beginning when she was training.
Yeah, she
No, I meant in a fight, like killing.
But I thought because we saw that earlier in the movie, it was a precursor to what was going to happen.
Sure, that makes sense. Yeah, no, see, I forgot about that. I was just expecting a lightsaber throw. But then she did the duel, and I'm like, okay, no, Palpatine, what are you doing? Yeah, I was like, yeah, almost. I was like, Palpatine, now you're really, really not paying attention to what needs to happen, man.
Yeah.
Did you not remember? And then, like, it's like, stop, force push her, grab her, throw her, do whatever. Why are you still going, bro? You're the one that's in charge of it. And then she's like, gets closer, and he's like, it's like,
and
are
it's
you
burning
shitting
him,
me?
and it's like, okay.
Stop the electricity, Palpatine. That's how we're going out.
Fire burn.
And I felt like it was so easy. It's like you're going out like this again, like this, like why, like.
Just like when you play the
not.
video game and you're at the boss level at the very end and you're like, that was it.
Yeah, well, Travis plays on easy. When it comes down to it, yeah, and then And then Kylo Ren just crawls out of the hole.
After he was thrown to his death, supposedly.
Yeah, apparently falling down holes and things blowing up don't really do much to you as a Jedi.
And
or
I was
Skywalker.
okay with her dying.
Yeah.
Like, I was okay. Like,
There's big blasts.
Yeah, like, it was good. Like, they brought balance to the Force by both of them being gone. You know what I mean?
Makes more sense to me that she passed away
Yeah.
and he rise. The name of the movie is The Rise of Skywalker.
Of course.
Right.
Yeah.
It would make sense. He's gone through this whole transformation that he went to the dark side
Right.
and is now on the light side. And
Yeah.
I would have
sacrifices
loved
were
it
made.
where, like, and it would have made so much better if Ben was the one to come back and you would be the rise of the Skywalker, because he is a Skywalker,
Yeah.
you know, essentially, instead of, you know, holding her there and be like,
Romeo and Juliet came to
It
mind.
felt very much like
A
Romeo
lot
and
of
Juliet
people
to me.
laughed at that moment.
Yeah, laughed.
It
then-
did.
Laughed at the transference when he kissed her and ended up transferring and then he falls back. They laughed.
I rolled,
Laughing.
like, people were laughing, but for me, it was a hard roll of my eyes, like, both times we
Because
watched
it's,
it. I
are
was like,
you shitting me?
oh my God, why did you do that?
It's again an organic way that could have done better, and we went this way, and it's like this is how we felt it could have been better to us. Again, to us. That's not the way
Yes.
it went. It went the way it went in the
Right,
film,
right, but
and
to
therefore
us.
we still justify the way it went and fit it into the canon because that's a
Right.
story that was told.
Yeah.
We have to do it, but it's the criticism of the way it would have been cooler if you did it this way. But either way, that's criticism. But yeah, you end up getting that Romeo and Juliet, that love, the kiss, which I know a lot of people did really enjoy because they've been waiting for it for
Yeah.
so
The
long.
Raylo, but it's,
Yeah, but it didn't earn it.
see, I'm rolling my eyes right now.
Yeah,
Just thinking.
it didn't earn it, but you know, that's the final battle. They're all done. They're all good down there. And then at the space battle, while they were trying to get the whole transmitter down, you know, you ended up getting some awesome tracking shots with Finn and with
Awesome
Naomi
moments,
Ackie.
yeah.
Yeah, great moments, great fights, great battles.
But also moments up in the air too, you know, like we said, going back to, like, yeah, we got to see a little bit inside. I wish we saw more inside the cockpits. We only got a little bit. We got Wedge,
Yeah.
and then of course we got Lando, and then we got Zori Bliss,
Of course.
and then of course you got and, like, he's with her. Like, I love that moment though too, because he's there. I just love Bubba Fruit.
Yeah, Bubba Freak is so good, and he shows up there with Zori Bliss, and I do love. I wish she had more to do.
I know.
more
I
to
wish
do
they
there.
had more
Take
to
some
do,
people
too.
out. Be a badass.
Like, show her talking back and forth to Poe, talking
yeah.
back to Lando,
Working
like,
together.
Working together. Like, I
together.
would have loved to see more of that, but we didn't. It was
No.
very fast. It
Yeah,
was
very
like,
quick.
oh, we need to get this done.
Yep,
Like,
and
it was
it's over.
just
Again, things that
cookie
didn't.
cutters, like,
things-
a sense.
Things that didn't end up earning the result. Like
Right.
the battle did not earn the result of the celebration after it was all
Right.
over, and they go back and they're happy and they're hugging.
They got to do the celebration thing too, the Cloud City and
Yeah.
I rolled my
Yeah.
eyes at that too, and I'm like, we don't need that.
Yeah, you don't need it, and it wasn't earned. It wasn't earned properly, in our opinions. But when we got to that point, yeah, there's Wicket. You know, cool.
Oh,
Wicket
fan
has a
service.
kid.
Oh, Wicked. Okay.
Yeah, but then if you look at the top above Wicket, it looks like one of the Star Destroyers has been split in two the way some hold-on maneuvers. It looked like it got taken out by a hold-on maneuver because it looked like it was split with the light in between, very similar to Last Jedi, which is still a very beautiful scene, by the way.
Right.
But yeah, then when they're all hugging each other, it felt like they were like, all right, well, now you guys are going to hug. All right, now you guys are going to hug. And it felt like, oh, we're just going to, let's film this one.
Well,
Let's film
now
this one, let's film
kiss.
this
At
one.
least Chewbacca got his medal.
No, yeah, and I've got plenty to say about that because when I first saw Chewbacca get the medal, my heart swelled, my eyes swelled, because the first thing
Yeah,
that
the
I
first
thought
thing.
was Princess Leia just gave Chewbacca Han Solo's medal. This medal was his. It went to Leia, the love of his life, and now it's going to Chewbacca. That means so much more. What ruined it for me is when they show the wider shot and Chewbacca's got it. He's all, oh, look at the medal I got. And I'm like, wait a minute. See, it was really just so it was cookies the entire time.
Right, it was
Like,
just
it was
fan
just
service,
a you
like,
get a
you
medal.
finally get a medal.
Which is bullshit. Chewbacca already got a medal. If you go back to the expanded universe, he's got his medal in the book, so in the comics. But when it comes down to Chewbacca getting the medal, it was a good moment. It was a good moment when he got it. Maz Kanata, I thought she was gonna be like, oh, because that's her boyfriend. Where's my boyfriend?
Oh,
I like that
yeah.
Wookiee. You know, they mesh together. I love Maz Kanata, but she didn't get a whole lot in this one either. But I love that it was a puppet. Love that it was a
And
puppet.
then also, can we talk about how, like, we got a little bit of feelings with Finn too,
Yeah.
where there were certain parts where he's like, oh, it's just a feeling. Oh, I have a feeling. she's okay. No, Rey. Like
Right.
it brought it to the point where you're like, wait, is he?
He's awakened.
Like, is
He's
he
force
awakened
sensitive.
too? Is he force sensitive too? And it's
Yeah.
like now
We didn't get much.
we didn't get much of that
Nope.
either. And I think maybe that was what he was gonna tell her. And that's why I'm okay with him not saying, but at the same time, it's like, okay.
We got to do it ourselves.
Right, we have to think about it ourselves. We
You
have
just
to justify it
reminded me
ourselves.
too in the battle in the aerial battle. They're like, well, where's the navigation system?
Up there.
There, that
I
one.
know, he's like, that.
How do you know? I just got a feeling.
Yeah.
He's like bonus and still not quite human, where he's like, that way. And he just starts walking, and they pull him away, and he's like, he's still pointing the other direction. Yeah, he just knows. And yeah, it would have been beautiful if they were able to dive a little bit more into the awakening that is Finn, and some of the others, especially those that are force sensitive.
Perhaps they may in the future.
I could totally see them making a spin-off film with Finn and Poe. Like the two of them going off and doing something. The way they're doing the expanded or at least the way they're expanding the Marvel universe with the MCU, I feel like you absolutely can go certain directions. Whether it's a show, then they get a movie, and then it's just shows to kind of interconnect the two. They could do it if they wanted to. Not for a while though. Take your time.
Yeah,
take a breather.
your time.
Please.
Wait for
Please.
Filoni and Favreau to get bored with the Mandalorian, and then they
Yeah,
can do
no
it.
more movies for a while right now. They need to kind of recalibrate
Yeah.
what's going on, because I mean, yeah, these movies are done. Whether we liked them, whether you liked them, whether you didn't like them, 7, 8, and 9 are done. They're in the can. They're out there for the world to see. So just, people are gonna like it. People are gonna hate it.
Right. I do love that Red 5 was in the air. It had a nice little touch to it
Yeah.
when she ended up escaping the explosion or escaping the temple. But yeah, Rey showing up and Rey doing her celebration. I love that triple hug where it was
All
Finn,
three of them?
Poe, and Rey, and they were all hugging each other. And then fade to black, which I was like, okay, they're going to come back. They got to give us a little bit more. And we kind of get like an epilogue, and the epilogue is
Yeah.
essentially back on
Tatooine.
it's on Tatooine. Yeah, we're at Lara's homestead,
Yeah.
and
It's been 40 years. You don't think somebody would have moved in by now?
no, it's
No,
been
bad
ages.
things happen there. They don't want to live there anymore.
Yes, a couple people were cooked in the house.
Yeah,
you want to be here?
Did she hear Skywalker and go, where Luke is under arrest? There's a murder here, and
Yeah.
it disappeared.
We've been looking for him for quite some time. But no, and I don't know if some people ended up taking like the impression that she's going to live there, because I did see
Yeah,
some comments.
people said that they
She's back
did
to where she started.
Yeah, they did think that people are taking that as an impression that she's just there to stay there, but it's like, no.
No.
Like, I didn't take that at all. I
Yeah.
just took that she went there to, as a final resting place for the Sabers.
Yeah, she
and
got
that's a
around.
final resting place for the Skywalkers.
Yeah.
And putting them to rest,
Yeah.
laying them to rest.
And then she's going to be on her way. You know how I know that?
Right.
She's got BB-8 with her. Also, can we talk about how R2 is flying with Poe Dameron in the space
Right?
battle? So
I love
amazing.
that. I do love that.
It was
totally.
definitely an awesome aspect to give him that, the
don't-
final battle. Yeah, but he got electrocuted to hell when the Emperor's all cooking him. I do love, too, that Lando ended up taking on Naomi Aki's character as a protege. It's like, oh, let's go find out. They're going to go on
There's
an
another adventure.
Yeah,
there
there's
that they
another
can
one
talk
that
about.
you can do.
So it's like they're not really ending the story.
That'll
but
be more
there's more
book or kind of
stories.
series,
Yeah.
I think. But yeah, you end up getting the bearing of the lightsabers, the bearing of the Skywalkers at Lara's homestead. You do get the click wheel lightsaber that she has. If you notice too, it changes color when she changes it. The click itself has like green, red,
So
and
it-
yellow.
Didn't notice.
I
Just
did
the
notice
click,
that.
not the saber. The click ends up changing color when she goes. "Vroom." So I'm wondering if she's got the ability to multiple colors. If she
So
wants
it's
to.
like one of those pens, like the
The
multicolored
multicolor
pens.
pens.
You like click it, and you have the different pens.
Yeah, you just took the fun out of it. But yeah, we figured it would end up being a yellow lightsaber like Bastila, because she ends up
Gold.
using the staff. So I don't know. We only saw one. I'm assuming it looked like it was out of her staff. So I'm assuming the other end probably has one too. Maybe we'll get that later if they are going to do something in the future.
We'll see.
But it's an interesting way to kind of end the story, you know?
And then of course they do in the story, and then they have some rando come over and be like, "Nobody's been here for 40, for a
Unnecessary.
really long time. Very unnecessary." And it's like, "What's your name?" And then it's just like Rey, and then. Why do you have to ask what her last name is? I
told
feel
you.
like you don't care.
There was a murder. There were 2 bodies that they found a long time ago, just roasting.
She can't
Yeah, but
afford to
it's
move
like
away.
that
That's her
lady-
backyard.
Yeah, but the lady is like, I feel like it should like
It was unnecessary.
it was
It
very
really
unnecary
was.
for her to be like,
It was
"What's
them
your
to
last
get that
name?"
popcorn punch of
No.
Skywalker.
No, it was, so what's your name, miss?
Yeah, it was very like it was funny when it happened when we first watched it. I turned as soon as she said Skywalker, I turned to him. I was like, "This is very Titanic."
Dawson.
When she's like,
Ray Dawson.
Can I get a name, please, love?" And then he goes, she goes, "Rose," and then he's waiting there, "Rose Dawson," and then he writes him and he walks away.
Organic, earned.
Right.
Okay.
This one,
Okay.
and then I mean, it was a very sweet moment to see Luke and Leia, you know, being off in the distance, seeing them. But then, and then she's like Skywalker, and it's like, okay, well, you can just be Rey. You don't have to be a Skywalker.
That's what I was hoping that it would end up being, like, just Rey.
Yeah,
because she's happy being
right.
just
Like
Rey.
she just needs. She doesn't
needs to
need
be
that
Rey.
backstory to be Skywalker or be a Palpatine. She's just Rey.
Which they had that dialogue earlier in the movie too.
I felt the same way, and I felt like when she saw the Leia and Luke Force ghosts, I figured it was going to be like the Muppet movie ending with all the Force Jedi ghosts in the background. You know, Qui-Gon Jinn's back there. Oh, there's Yoda. Big Bird's right there as well. You know, just everyone's there, big all happy. Let's start singing the song now.
But it didn't happen. They did it nice and quaint and little, you know, small scale, which is fine. It's the important part of the story was Luke and Leia. You know, everybody else was kind of around them. They were the center of this trilogy because they were the ones that survived, you know, the destruction that was taking place in the fall of the Republic. So I do love many aspects, obviously. You heard what we said about the entire film.
I will say that this is a great popcorn flick. If I went in with no expectations or no in-depth history of Star Wars in my personal life, I would have loved this movie.
Sure.
From the beginning to the end, as a popcorn flick, I could have sat there and just watched it. But knowing what I know and having a personal past with Star Wars and how much it's been a part of my life,
Right.
There's a lot with this movie I struggle with.
Right.
And there's a lot that is good, but there's a lot more so that I don't like it. And I said earlier when we were talking about it, how it had made me reflect back on the previous movies of the Star Wars, the 9 movies. This one, at this moment, I may change my mind in the future, but this is probably my least favorite Star Wars movies as of right now.
Sure.
But this makes me really appreciate the prequels. I really look back at it and I go, you know what? Episode 1 wasn't as bad. I do feel like Qui-Gon Jinn was so underrated and so unutilized that he could have helped us out in the long term.
Yeah, he should have gone in the second movie too. Not
Right.
the first movie. Bring him to the second movie.
I will say that this does give me satisfaction to the conclusion. Like, I'm not here saying like, oh, this is not the conclusion that I want. You know what I mean? Like, I do feel satisfied, but I think it's because I don't care.
But I
No connection.
Yeah,
Because there's no connection,
with this.
so
you're like,
I'm just like, okay, that's the way you want to end it.
yeah.
Cool.
But you got
But
the
I
movies
don't
you
care.
liked. You got those stories that you want.
Right, like I can go back and watch Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back, and like all of those, and not feel like even though I know it's coming, I can still watch those and still be happy.
Right.
You know, like that's what this movie allowed me to be satisfied with, is that I can still go back. Whereas with The Last Jedi, I felt like I couldn't go back because I know what was happening. Where this one, I'm like, okay, it's ended. I can go back and still watch the originals and be fine because I didn't have that feeling here for the ending.
And she's like Joe Don Baker and Mars Attacks. It never happened. It never happened. He's trying to change it. It never happened.
No, it happened. No, it didn't happen.
Yeah, I think that if you are a fan, if you're not a fan, if it's popcorn, mainstream, deep cut, it all depends on your perception. It all depends on what the way you held in your being for your love for Star Wars and the trajectory you built. And this is why everyone was complaining about, you set up these expectations that were this, something different than what we got. It's like, no, we can manage we can manage the story that you gave us, and we can build it into the lore that you have created ahead of time and make it work. What is really hard is when you make it so much effort for us to fill in the gaps, and we're never going to find out, or we're going to find out many years away, and I got to read a book, or I got to listen to an audiobook, which we do. But that's the thing, is so many people are missing out on some cherry storytelling in the Star Wars universe because we're having to fill in the damn gaps for a lot of the stuff that they're leaving out of this new trilogy.
And this is why I don't like this movie as much. Is because we have to fill in the gaps for our sake. Fill in.
It's still fun.
Why this happened, why this happened, why this happened. And I truly at the end I felt satisfied, but that's because I was just like I have no connection.
I have a question though.
The story's over.
The story's over. I have no connection. Cool.
they do call it The Rise of Skywalker, but what point, where is this title justified, I guess, is what I'm asking.
It would have been justified if, like we said, with it's given.
It's
given to her.
It's given to her. Yeah. Like she's the one that's using that.
I get it, but I guess I'll struggle because, like, you know.
I mean, it's given to Ben too.
Anakin was the one
Ben too.
to balance the Force, you know.
Passed,
yeah,
so
he rose. He transcended.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah.
But I feel like he could have been the one. She could have been the one to transcend, and he's the one to be there. But
I agree.
I said earlier. But like the whole rise of Skywalker, like I feel like the Skywalkers were always supposed to bring balance to the Force, and that didn't happen. I didn't feel justified that this family lineage, which is now gone, didn't get what it was meant to do.
Sure. I could see that.
Right, and that's why I would have loved it if she just stayed dead. Like, she was gone, Rey was gone.
Which she had some creepy eyes when she was dead.
But to be fair, I would have been okay with Rey being gone and with Kylo being gone.
Yeah.
And now it's just the world rising to be like, you know, honor the Skywalkers and make it a better place. And that's what I wanted. And I was hoping for, but... You know,
I could have been happy with that.
Instead.
And that's how you end up coming out of this movie, loving it, hating it, liking it, or despising it.
I mean, to be honest, I give it a 2.5 out of 5 for this movie.
I get it. I had 2.5 out of 5. Babu Frick probably knocks mine up to a 3.
I do like, well, 2.5, I would have given it 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
Or 2 out of 3. I would have given it a 2 out of 5, but Babu Frick does give it a 2 point, gives it that extra 0.5.
All right, so 2.5 for you, 3.0 for me.
Probably a 2.
Probably a 2. All right, that's you heard the discussion. It's much more than just a number in the end. It's much more than just a rating. It's leveled. It's deep seated. It's a discussion that you need
and
to
it's
get
much
through.
more than it just I just hated it or I just loved it. There are we have good things that we loved about it. We have good things that we didn't like about it, and it kind of intermeshes and weaves at it. This is not the type overall. This is not like the movie that I was hoping for. But it was still
the trilogy I was hoping for.
It wasn't the trilogy we were hoping for, but it was still kind of satisfying because, for me personally, because I didn't care. Like, if I cared about these characters and stuff and they ended it the way that they ended it, I'd be like, okay.
And just to clarify, you didn't care, but you once cared.
Yeah.
Which is the unfortunate part about it.
But I get it. And if you like this movie... Power to you.
It's there.
I get it.
Right. It's got all the good points.
If you like this entire trilogy, you think J.J. Abrams has done an amazing job with it.
J.J. Ryan Johnson.
I get it. I totally understand it. My old man, he was there opening night almost for Star Wars, and he went and saw this movie. He loved it. He goes to popcorn flicks. He's had the connection with Star Wars, but the story is what he liked.
Worked on every level for him.
Absolutely.
He doesn't invest in that deep-seated thought. We sit there on 7-hour drives to California, and we'll just be talking about different ways in Star Wars and Mandalorian and Clone Wars and Rebels, and it's just like it's a fun thing to talk about.
Right, and I will say there are certain things that happened in this movie that make me feel okay about The Last Jedi. That I can go back and watch The Last Jedi and be like, okay.
Yeah, I'll go through the 3 again.
Right.
So let me ask you a question.
Return of the Jedi.
If you can answer it
My
quickly.
favorite.
That goes without saying. Still, Return is the best. But as a whole saga for the Skywalkers, like in general, like if we were to just look at this was one book, one story from beginning to end. I mean, we know we don't like this movie. In general, are you guys okay with it?
Could have been better.
It could have been better.
Could have been better. It's good. It could have been better.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It could have been better.
It could have been better.
Could have
It
been
worked.
a bigger climactic ending.
I'll say, man. I'll say what's going on in the Marvel universe and Endgame, Infinity War,
At least
and all
we still
that.
got Marvel.
Like hot damn, like you guys did good, but I think that they hit their peak, and I'm hoping that they're capable of sustaining the success and the quality that they had onward. But when it comes to Star Wars, it could have been better, but they are still cranking stuff out that is quality, top-notch stuff. Mandalorian.
Yes, I would love to see them slow it down and do it right.
Yeah.
You got those streaming services.
And they're doing it.
Obi-Wan Kenobi
Deborah Chow.
show. I just can't wait for such a thing.
Deborah Chow.
Like we still are part. We still love the Star Wars
universe.
This didn't ruin it
universe
for me.
because Mandalorian we have coming up. We're super excited about that.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan. I can't wait for Obi-Wan.
Of course.
The Cassian and Andor.
K2SO,
Cassian story. We can't wait for that to see what that happens. We can't wait for Clone Wars when Clone Wars comes back. So.
And you can see all this going down, guys, on our channel. We appreciate you hanging in for the long haul. This was definitely a beast, but we had to get through the therapy. What do you guys think?
And
Obviously,
it is a therapy session.
Yeah, sound off down there. You know what to do. Check out the Mandalorian reactions that we're doing every episode, available on our channel. Full watch-alongs available on our Patreon.
And I do apologize about my voice. I was sick.
I'm starting to feel it now, too.
Right.
I need to take something. We talked for so long. And then check out our Better Late Than Never series. All three of us went through the original trilogy, watched the original trailers, gave our reviews individually for New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and of course, Return of the Jedi, available now. Our Christmas episode is coming very soon, so be on the lookout for that. Subscribe if you haven't. We're almost at 50K. Get us there. You can like and subscribe.
And did the thing on our Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, Stardust.
All the social networking gin joints, you know where they are. Kick into the party, fuel the party, keep the party going on our Patreon. Gets us where we need to go. Thank you, Travis.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Hell of a trip. So thank you, guys. And now it's time to say goodbye.
Bye.
This party is over.
Time for Star Tours.